Hi, I'm Yarlin,
And I'm Katie.
and this is Faye and Fables, a podcast hosted by two mental health counselors who take a psych deep dive into your favorite fantasy and romantasy books.
Today, we are going to be talking about the third book in the Throne of Glass series, Heir of Fire. And we're so excited. We're
Yes.
fired up. There's so much to discuss.
So much.
Yes. But before we get into the discussion of the book, we have some disclaimers and notes for you all. First and foremost, please note that this episode contains spoilers for books 1, 2, and 3 of the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. That includes The Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, and Heir of Fire. Additionally, there are several potential triggering themes that are discussed, including discussions of enslavement, colonization, violence, gore, injury, substance abuse, death, assault, war, and imprisonment. Additionally, we use explicit language just based on who we are as people, and adult themes are included in this episode. We also are two podcast hosts who are mental health counselors, which we think is a really unique thing that we get to bring to the space. Yeah. But we want to note that this should not be used to diagnose, treat, or address any individual mental health concerns or conditions. The knowledge, opinions, and experiences we express related to mental health are our own and should not be used or applied as treatment. This is just for fun. If you feel like you need mental health treatment, please seek out your own individualized mental health care. In our discussion of Heir of Fire, we're going to go through several things, which are kind of our standard order of events. Our first is our rankings and ratings, where we provide our star and chili pepper ratings for the book. Then we go through our plots and thoughts analysis, where we analyze the psychology of the characters in the book. This is really looking at the characters themselves, the story, and kind of the psych themes we can pull from there. We then have our teehee moments, which is just us getting Twitter-pated whenever we get Twitter-pated. And then we're going to go into our therapy deep dive, where we expand from the story into everyday life. What can we as readers take with us in terms of mental health and psychology? We are then going to finish with future thoughts and theories with Yarlin, and I will be seeing what thoughts and theories you have, as I have already read the series. And then we're going to move into our goodbyes from that point. So Yarlin, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go ahead and start with rankings and ratings. What were your stars and what were your chili peppers?
So I did give it 5 stars. Because I truly enjoyed all the events that were happening in this book. I love the introduction of the new characters in this book. Definitely faves. And chili pepper, 1 star.
Yeah.
You know, there was a few teehee moments here and there, but a brush of a shoulder, a touch of a hand.
A longing look.
Yeah, which is nice, but 1 star.
Yeah, I had the same thing. 5 stars, as you all know. Almost every book we read is a 5-star for me. But also, I am particularly obsessed with Throne of Glass, so it's going to be 5ers on the here on out for me, folks.
I hope so for me as well.
I
wonder, so and I was thinking about this. I wonder why Throne of Glass was a 2. What did I give it? I can't remember if it was a 2 or a 3.
You gave it a 2 and then a 5 and a 5.
Yeah, so I wonder what the first one was.
A quick come up.
Yeah.
I think, again, tracking her trajectory as a writer, and I really believe that the relationships in the first book don't have some of the psychological depth. Like, some of the decisions of the characters in the first book don't quite make sense psychologically. That for me is what it really honed in on. There were moments where I really felt like you're an assassin, but this is not assassin behavior, or this relationship doesn't really make sense in the context of where we're at right now. I think there were a couple of breakdowns, and knowing what I know now, I did rate it higher this time around than I would have, but if I was on read 1, as we discussed, it would have been a 2. But I think Sarah J. Maas irons that out and so I don't know how you felt, but by the time you get to this book,
Yeah,
there's like a richness, a psychological richness and
I agree.
sense to be made from why characters are doing what they're doing and how they're relating.
Yeah, I agree.
So those and I felt the same about Chili Peppers.
Yeah.
1 star. It, like you said, some touches, some references to kissing,
Yeah.
some very demure and cute and sweet moments, and nothing that I would categorize as chili pepper inducing.
Yeah.
So, YA. We have to keep reminding ourselves YA. But yeah, those are our rankings and ratings. And now we're going to move into our plots and our
Oh,
thoughts.
yeah.
And I'm going to give us. So, one of the things that starts to become challenging that I discovered in doing the outline for this book is we're getting more and more perspectives from more and more
Yes.
characters. And the movements or the sort of where's everybody at and what they're doing and their development starts becoming more and more complex.
Yes.
So when I thought about how to organize this outline, it makes sense to me to just follow the trajectory of one person from their perspective, or
Yeah.
a couple of people like Kale and Adian spend a lot of time together.
Mhm.
So I'm going to take us through several threads. We're going to follow Selena and Rowan's thread. We're going to follow Kale and Adian's thread, Dorian and Sorsha's thread.
Mhm.
And then we're going to end with sort of the final culmination with Dorian, Adian, Kale, Sorsha, and I mean, you know the scene I'm talking about. But that bombastic ending,
Yes.
I'm going to bring some things together. But I really wanted to try and separate out each person's trajectory instead of trying to bounce back and forth between perspectives like it happens in the book.
Yeah, it could get a little confusing when we're, discussing it in a pod.
Exactly. So I'm going to sort of give us a where did we leave off from our three main characters, which are Selena / Aelin, Kale, and Dorian. Selena, last we saw her, was being sent away to Wendelin to assassinate the king and the prince of Wendelin and to get some naval maps so they can navigate the reefs. So we find her in Wendelin. I'll give you the whole details about what she's up to, what she's doing, how much wine she's been drinking on rooftops here in a second. And this assignment was the brainchild of Kale, who was really just trying to protect Selena by sending her away. We find Kale still in Adarlan, and he is shook because he has figured out that Selena is actually Aelin Ashriver Galathinius, the crown princess, or now the queen of Terrasen, now that her parents are dead.
Yeah.
And after he has confessed his love for her. So she's leaving on the boat. He's like, I love you.
Yeah.
He goes back to Rifthold, figures out she's Aelin, and it puts him in a tailspin. So he's off flying on a corn chip. Then there's Dorian, and he is also in Adarlan. He's specifically also in Rifthold, and he has figured out that he has magic, which is terrifying because the king has banished magic and killed all the magic wielders, and has stashed some lineage books, has started to build some knowledge around the Galathinius line, around the Haviliard line. He's starting to put shit together. And so he's, for the first time, sort of, you find him at the top of Throne of Glass. He's the like disenchanted prince, but still kind of doesn't really have an arc. But this time, the introduction of his magic is really, for the first time, putting him at odds truly with what's going on around him, and it's frightening him. In addition to the perspectives that we already know, we have Manon Blackbeak, who's been added. I also, by the way, in my head, the first time I read this, she was Manon in my head. I'm going to do my level best to say Manon, because that's how the official pronunciation is.
Manon.
But please apologies if I mess that up at any point. We are introduced to Rowan Whitethorn, who is a Fae male serving under Maeve, the Queen of the Fae, via a blood oath. And then we are introduced to Sorsha, who is a healer serving in the castle in Rifthold. And I'll wrap their narratives here in a minute, but I wanted to give you a rundown of who all we got
and where we're at.
Doing. Yeah. And we are going to start with Celaena and Rowan. Where's Celaena? What's she doing? And what she's doing is sitting on rooftops in Wendellin's capital, drinking and eating cheap bread, stealing bread and wine and drinking and eating it on rooftops and intermingling that with brawling, just getting in fights with people. And the reason that she's doing this is she goes into the capital of Wendelin is called Varese. She goes into Varese intending to kill the king and his son. The son's name is Galen Ashriver. If that Ashriver name sounds familiar, this is one of Valen's cousins or Celaena's cousins. You'll also hear me call her Celaena throughout this because she refers to herself as Celaena, so I'm gonna go with that until we hit a tipping point. So she sees how she's sort of sitting on a rooftop, scoping out the premises, and she sees the prince emerge. Galen emerges, and his people love him, and all the air kind of goes out of her balloon around actually killing him. So now she's supposed to be killing this prince, and she can't bring herself to do it because she sees how beloved he is by his people, and she thinks about the fact that he's one of the only people left who's fighting against Adarlan's takeover basically of the entire continent of Aurelia. And this is a problem because the king of Adarlan has expressly threatened Kael's life and the lives of Nehemiah's family if she doesn't do this. So she's caught in a pickle there. And then the second pickle that she is caught in is that she promised Nehemiah before Nehemiah died. She promised her to find the word keys and free Elwë, and in the process destroy the king of Adarlan. She also doesn't know how to do that. She needs or wants to find Queen Maeve, Queen of the Fae, in order to ask her about it, because she knows that Maeve was involved in the war regarding the word keys kind of hundreds of years ago. So she knows that Queen Maeve could have answers for her, but she doesn't know how to get there. She doesn't know how to fulfill her contract with the king. She doesn't know how to protect Kael or Nehemiah's family, and so she just kind of deflates. She and this whole time she's laying on rooftops, getting drunk, eating a bread called tegia that she's stealing. And one of Nehemiah's last words are going through her head. "You're nothing but a coward. You're nothing but a coward. You're nothing but a coward," is playing over and over and over in her head. And so once we see her in this situation, it feels like not much is going on, except that one day she looks over on like a chimney or another part of the roof, and there's a white-tailed hawk that sits on the roof and watches her just sort of doing whatever it is she's doing. The hawk doesn't do anything. It sort of just watches her, and she clocks it, but it's around for a couple of days. And what we find out later is that this is the animal form of Rowan Whitethorn, Fae male, and just grumpy. Just a grumpy.
I do like him.
Grumpy Fae male. Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Interesting. And we find out that all Fae have animal forms, and that Celaena's animal form, interestingly, is as a human. That's her animal form. If I were Celaena, I'd be a little bit bummed out by that. Why can't I be a leopard or something? I don't know. Something cool. Give me like a stag or like, I don't know, like.
Right. Doesn't that make sense?
Yeah.
For her?
Yeah. Like, give me something like a tiger, but her.
Like a snake or something.
Yeah, ooh, like a basilisk. Yeah. Or like I don't know.
A human?
Yeah. I mean, it helps her to survive in Adderlin, I guess.
True.
But I would have been like, I just want something cooler. Can I get something that flies?
Is she the only one that has like that human?
I mean, I don't know. At this point, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Because I'm like, she can't be the only one.
Yeah, no. Well, you meet several other Fae males specifically throughout the book, and Gavriel is the lion, and Vaughn is an osprey, I think. There's a bunch of them that have other animal forms, but in this book, she's the only one whose whose animal form is a human.
Okay.
And so eventually, and at first she just sees the hawk and doesn't think much of it because she's drunk and sitting in the sun. But he eventually, after seeing a couple of days of this chicanery, comes to retrieve her and bring her to what she thinks is being brought to Maeve. Now, they're not going directly to Doranel, which is where Maeve rules over. There's going to be some things in between that, but he basically says, Maeve, Queen of the Fae, wants to see you. And Selena, it's interesting because she kind of needed to go there anyway, but she is very apathetic about the fact that this random male that she's never met, and by the way, you'll hear me say male because in this magic system, humans are men and women, Fae are male and female. So you'll always hear them talk about men and women as human. Yeah. Fae, male and female. So instead of saying like, oh, that man, it'll be like, oh, that male over there.
Right. The Fae male.
The Fae male. Yeah. So she just kind of decides to go with him, which felt like a very un-Selena-like thing to do. Not to question anything, not to be saucy about it, not to at least throw out like some kind of
her typical like
swagger kind of thing. She just kind of agrees. And I think the first part of this really illustrated to me where she is mental health wise. And so I'm curious for you, Yarlin, what mental health symptoms do you see her displaying? And if we were to speculate a diagnosis, again, for fun, we can't do a biopsychosocial on Selena. I know. But if we were to kind of like for funsies speculate, what might it be, and what are you seeing from her symptom wise?
So I think with being able to recount the like situations that were going on, it definitely brought back, I definitely see lots of sadness, grief, anger, kind of like fueling that revenge that she has for Nehemia's death, maybe some guilt, things like that. She's definitely drinking a lot and not being herself. So I feel like at least right now, given the situation, I would give her adjustment disorder with maybe mixed emotional and behavioral disturbances, or with depressed mood. So depends. Maybe leaning a little bit more towards depressed mood, but she's not like sleeping a lot. So I think it's tough to have a specific one, but at least for right now in her situation, definitely an adjustment disorder, because she doesn't seem to meet the criteria, at least in my like in my professional opinion, for any other diagnosis.
Yeah, and I like that you bring in adjustment disorder, because in order for a lot of the diagnoses, in order to get a full diagnosis of like depression or anxiety, you need to display symptoms for a certain period of time. And I don't think she's at the point. She's not quite there yet. I like that you bring in the depressive piece, because I see her like she makes it very clear that she has not bathed or what, like the personal hygiene piece.
That's a big part in depression. Yeah.
Yeah. The substance abuse, this apathy, this flat affect. I think if she were left to kind of percolate there for a while, we could move into that depressive piece. And for anybody who is unfamiliar with the DSM-5, which you might be, adjustment disorder oftentimes is applied before you move into a more permanent kind of disorder, like, major depression or other things. So this at least would give her a place to be like, something's off, and we would need time and to see if it were to grow into something more.
Yeah, you could use that diagnosis for like 6 months in treatment, or at least, regarding like insurance, things like that. So a lot of times when I'm like figuring out what my clients have going on, adjustment disorder is like a good one for the beginning versus like already diagnosing them with something like depression and things, unless they specifically meet the criteria right from the beginning. But usually it's good to be able to actually get to know more of their situation versus like already give them like a specific thing.
Yeah. So we find Selena very much mental health wise, we can track. She's not doing well.
Yeah.
And Rowan comes to take her to Maeve, Queen of the Fae. And I want to pause just for a moment to describe Rowan physically and as a presence, because I think that's important for the plot to understand, so you can visualize what we're talking about. Rowan is incredibly tall. Fae in general, Fae males and females are taller and bigger and sort of more imposing than their human counterparts. So he's Fae male tall. He's broad and muscled and silver haired, and he has these elongated canines, which full-blooded Fae have elongated canines. And he's got tattoos running down one side of his face, and at this time she can see it running down his neck and down kind of into his tunic. What you discover is it runs all the way down his chest and sort of his side.
Very interesting.
Yeah. How are we feeling?
Oh, I am for him.
Oh, are we team Rowan?
Oh yeah. It hasn't been discussed yet in the TV, but I am team Rowan. Forget Kale, forget Dorian.
Fuck them. They're gone.
So, I can't recall if he has long hair.
Yes, he does. He has. I think he has longer,
maybe like shoulder length or something.
I think he has longer hair. I think he has longer hair. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm struggling. I don't think this is not. At one point he cuts it. At some point, sometime. Okay, but so I think he starts with longer hair.
Okay.
I'm sorry if that counts as a spoiler, but hair length I don't think is high.
I don't think that's a big thing.
Yeah. Anyway, so yes, he has longer hair.
Love. My
he
type.
is sun-kissed skin, and she, from the beginning, even though she's sort of in this apathetic state, she can feel the power kind of rolling off of him. Even as they walk through crowds or anything, people give him space because you can feel his power
oozing out of him.
Yeah. He's incredibly handsome. He has intense pine green eyes, and she comments several times about the fact that he is very clearly a warrior. You can tell by the way he moves through the world. He's graceful, he's gigantic, and he has a deep, deep voice. And so for those reasons, it sounds like, Yarlin, you are team Rowan.
Team Rowan for the foreseeable future.
Okay. All right. It'll be interesting. I will be asking you about this at the end, so it'll be good to see. So Selena and Rowan says that she's going to see the Queen of the Fae, and you might think that means they're going straight to Doranel, but where they're headed instead is a place called Mistward, and it's a fortress that exists between Varese and Doranel, and this is where many what are called demi-fae live, folks who are born of human and fae pairings. And what you learn is that demi-fae aren't allowed to be in Doranel without earning their way into Doranel. Full-blooded fae can live in Doranel, but demi-fae have to prove themselves. And this strikes a chord as sort of shitty to Selena, and I think to us as well.
Yeah.
Kind of from the beginning. There's also a derogatory term for demi-fae, which is I think it's like half breed, and
Yeah, I
Selena,
was thinking like half blood or
yeah,
like half.
half breed,
Yeah,
and Selena at the very start accidentally says like, "Oh, you're half breeds, aren't you?" And they're like, "Whoa, girl, we call ourselves demi-fae. Don't get
yeah,
it twisted. Don't be saying those words around here."
yeah. That's a pretty rough thing to say.
Yeah. So they go to Miss Ward. There's an initial meeting with Maeve, and Maeve essentially lays out the plan, which is you're going to stay in Miss Ward. You're going to train with Rowan and prove that you can control your magic.
Mm-hmm.
And then once he says you're ready, you can come to Dornell and I'll answer your questions. And Selena has enough caring sort of stored somewhere to be like, okay, I'll do whatever your stupid tests are to get to Dornell, but
Yeah.
I don't love this. But the problem for Selena is that from the very beginning, Rowan and Selena have a really contentious dynamic. Rowan sort of is consistently berating her for various things and poking at her and making fun of her and insulting her.
Yeah.
And he's and she's I think from the outside, if you're a person looking at Selena from the outside, she looks very apathetic. She looks like she's like, I just don't fucking care. Yeah. And what you know as the reader is that she has got an inner turmoil that's sort of shoved underneath, and her depressiveness is only growing. It's this dark pit inside her that just grows with every failure that she has and with every insult that's thrown at her. It does affect her. But from the outside, she looks like she doesn't care. She doesn't want to connect. She doesn't want anything to do with anybody. And she almost has, to me, what seems to be a self-harm level lack of care for her safety. It's like she doesn't really care what happens to her body. She doesn't really care to make connections. She doesn't. It's gone from this fire that's always in her to just this dark, deep darkness. And once Maeve leaves and Selena starts establishing her routine, her days are filled with a couple of different things. She starts her mornings in the kitchens with two characters named Emrys and Luca. And then once she's done serving breakfast to the people of Miss Ward, because Rowan says everybody works here, so you're going to have to put a shift in.
Do your part.
Yeah. And she's like, fucking fine. So she works in the kitchens in the morning, early in the morning. Then for the remainder of sort of daylight hours, she trains with Rowan. And there's two things that he's trying to get her to do. One is shift in and out of her Fae form.
Yeah.
And two, trying to get her to control her fire magic. And then at the end of each day, they all sit around and Emrys tells stories because he is a story keeper. He is a demi-fae, and his ability seems to be in collecting, keeping stories, and telling stories. And in the beginning and the end of the day, when she's in kitchen time and in story time, seem to be relatively okay. Like she's all right.
She's getting through.
Yeah, and there's actually something really, I think, calming for her about doing the kitchen work. She just sort of cuts onions and serves people. It's busy, but it's like she is left alone. She likes that. The hardest part of her day, by far, training with Rowan.
Yeah.
He berates her. He, from the very beginning, is on her ass about doing this. And there are several sort of threads that happen in Selena's story that develop. One is we look at what's happening with Selena's powers and how it's connected with this internal stuff that's going on mental health wise. We see developments in Rowan and Selena's relationship. And then we see them investigating what we now know are called the Valg. And so I'm going to start with the powers piece and her internal progress. She starts this narrative not even being able to shift at will. And a lot of her blockages with her powers have to do with fear. She's afraid of herself. She's afraid of what exists inside at sort of the bottom of all her stuff. She fears her powers and herself. But there are several instances that unfold that push her to get better at shifting. One, she faces a Valg at one point in a field of what's called whites, WIGHT. And that white shows her like really terrible memories of her past. And we as readers are learning about her past as she's having these. Then she shifts at one point when she's trying to save Rowan. Rowan berates her and she's like, I'm fucking done. And she tries to run away. And then these creatures attack her and Rowan comes to help her. And so she shifts because she doesn't want Rowan to get hurt because of her shenanigans.
Yeah.
And then she shifts again when Rowan shoves her against a tree and bites her on the neck. She does not take kindly to that. Once she starts getting a handle on her shifting, so she starts getting pushed into instances where she has to shift. And then at some point it starts becoming more natural. She starts to be able to shift in and out more readily. And then she goes through several events where she's learning to tame her fire magic. And again, Rowan puts her through some like pretty harsh shit in order to get her to do that. He kidnaps Luca and puts him on an ice lake and she has to save him from that.
Yeah.
And it's about not just using the fire magic, but controlling it. Her greatest fear is that she's just unregulated and she'll hurt someone with her magic. So she's learning to, instead of putting out these massive blasts of fire magic,
right,
to like literally light a candle and keep it lit, or melt this little bit of ice and keep it melted. And as she does this, she gets better with her powers and she hones her emotions, or sort of like she starts contending with her emotions as a way to help her powers develop.
I figured even with the powers, it's like if she hasn't been practicing or even doing anything with her powers, starting off with those maybe intense, strong situations will like do the big ignite of her powers. So I see why he's putting her in those situations. And then you can slowly start practicing more in like the smaller things. But sometimes when you see people practicing magic in like shows or things like that, you start off small. Oh, light this candle, or like, you know, lift a feather with your magic. But maybe in this situation for her, the magic is better starting off big or with intense life or death situations.
And I think that's what Rowan, when she shifts to save him, he figures out that if it's for somebody else, she'll figure it out. She'll rise to the occasion.
Right.
And what I will say, I think Selena makes a really good point. At one point, she's like, don't involve other people. Please do not. She like,
I agree.
She actually like punches him or something. She like hits him and she's like, you can't involve other people in this. I don't want people getting hurt.
Because it could be a risk. What if she can't control it, or like she lights them on fire or something? You know?
Yeah, he very much takes a like go harder or go like it's like it kind of even goes beyond tough love to me. It's like I'm gonna put you in intense situations to force you to get good at this, and I think there are moments where she's just like,
this isn't the way.
Too much. Yeah. It's too much. Now, I certainly think there are moments where she needs a little push, but I think at one point she makes a comment about him as a trainer, and she's like, this is awful. And he I think as he gets warmer toward her, he softens up and he realizes what he's doing. But it's a lot. It's a very intense.
For sure.
So, and this kind of is a good sequitur into us talking about Rowan and Selena's relationship. Rowan, as I said, they start at each other's throats. It's not like, and truly some hateful shit is said. Like, not just, sometimes in fantasy books where it's like enemies and like, but it's always like flirty or something. They genuinely hate each other.
Yeah, so this is true enemies to
we don't know. So enemies now,
But
whatever.
I think I did like that about their dynamic. It was like they truly.
He says to her at one point, "You would have been better off if you had just died 10 years ago." Like it's like vitriolic.
Yeah, but
their relationship.
that brings in some passion, some things brewing.
Mayhaps. So it starts very vitriolic, and what you figure out later down the line is that they're both hurting people who are trying to figure out how to move through the world, and they're doing it in their own toxic ways. But to him, I think he keeps wanting to shove her into progress because he's exasperated that he has to be doing this at all, and two, he, I think, resents and hates her apathy. He's just like, I don't have any fucking sympathy for this. Get up and
do it.
And she is and when he really shoves her or pushes her into that, she does have these moments of white hot rage interspersed with absolute darkness. It's dark inside of her, and it's blindingly quiet inside of her sometimes. It's that like catatonic, like that silence, just the absolute depths of like emptiness.
It's sad.
Yeah, it is. And they like punch each other at various points. He bites her, she burns him. They're like not only verbally attacking each other, but they're physically hurting one another.
Yeah.
And there's a breaking point. So there's sort of these vitriolic interactions up to this breaking point where they start actually having some okay interactions. Like they sit next to each other during story time with Emerus, and they kind of have a camaraderie. Or they, at one point, Rowan sees her shivering, and he like gives her his jacket, and it's
so sweet.
It's a little gesture. And so at one point, one of Rowan's compatriots, who we know as the cadre, that's like their name, and Selena makes it up, but it's Rowan's cadre. One of his other friends who's in a blood oath with Maeve, his name is Gavriel, and his animal form is a lion.
Oh, yeah.
And Gavriel, one night during story time, Gavriel comes out of the woods and approaches Rowan because something really hard has happened for him. And we never know totally the situation. But him and Rowan sort of leave story time and go to do something. And Selena doesn't know what that something is, and she feels kind of left out. She thought for a second that her and Rowan had a connection, and like that he would invite her or something. So in a show of, I think, resilience from her part, she's like, well, if I want a connection, like, let me go bring them soup. Like, I want to know. Like,
that was nice. Yeah.
Well, and a turn away from the apathy stuff. There was a time where I think she would have been like, fuck you guys.
You're right.
But she's like, nope, I'm going to put myself out there and go bring them soup and see what's going on. And she walks in, and Rowan is tattooing Gavriel. And it's a very vulnerable moment for Gavriel, because what you learn later is that Rowan is tattooing the story of a battle where Gavriel lost several of his very close like compatriots in some way. And so, and also we find out that Rowan does tattoos. Ballin'. And so he basically is like, like leaves the room with her, and he's like, get the fuck out of here, get the fuck out. And she's like, and I think she says something to the effect of like, why don't you just hit me, like, instead of making me feel like an absolute loser, why don't you just fucking tackle me? I don't know. And that is when he says, you're a waste of space, and you should have died 10 years ago. Everybody would be better off if you were dead. And it breaks her. Yeah. It's like the last, she thought for a second she had a fucking friend, and she doesn't. And so she goes to her room, absolutely bereft of every feeling. And then the following morning, when she gets up, Emerus and Luca try to relate to her, and she pops off on them. She's like, fuck you guys, fuck this whole thing, I hate everybody. And she goes to like a lakeside to like whatever. And Rowan, this is the first time you hear from Rowan's perspective. He comes in, and Emerus is like, what the fuck are you doing to her? What are you doing to her? And Rowan's like, what do you mean? He's like, you're destroying her. Every bit of kindness, you just fucking throw it to the ground and spit on it.
Yeah.
And what we discover is that Emrys knows who Selena is. He knows that she's Aelin Ash River Galathinius because her mother had worked at Mistward several years ago.
Oh, yeah.
So he's like, that girl has the potential to do something great in this world, and you are absolutely destroying her. Get over your fucking self. And Rowan eats crow, and he's like, I need to amend my ways. And he goes to find her. They kind of talk it out, but you can tell that he's going there to, he never says I'm sorry, but he goes there to apologize in the way that he can.
Right.
And their relationship kind of gets warmer and warmer across time. Now, they do not sleep together. It's not romantic. It's like they build a bond together, and they don't quite know what it is, but it's some kind of bond is built between them. And then we'll get into kind of how that solidifies toward the end of their narrative. But it's clear that they start to be on each other's team rather than fighting one another. And they start to get more vulnerable with each other. They start to tell each other their backgrounds. They start to like share in their vulnerabilities and their fears. And so and even Rowan starts to like caretake her in full. So one point they're doing an exercise where she has to keep these Beltane fires lit, and she overdoes it and burns out, sort of starts burning from the inside. And so he carries her, even though she's burning his chest and arms, he carries her to these baths and freezes, because he has ice and wind magic.
Yeah.
So he takes her to these baths and freezes the water over and over again as she melts it.
To cool her down.
Yeah. And you really start to see it's not just these small moments. It's like in big ways.
Yeah.
They're becoming on each other's team and creating a bond after they sort of get past these really hard, interactions with one another. So, my question to you, Yarlin, we can see that Selena and Rowan's relationship is really impacted by their own traumas, the shit that they're coming in with.
For sure.
What are the similarities and differences in how they initially show up in interactions with each other, and what emotions are at the forefront for each of them? Like, how does their psychology play into their interactions?
So they have a lot going on themselves.
Yes. Oh, yes.
I felt like I did like how honest Rowan is with her and about her behavior. There was something that I wrote down as I was listening to this book, of when he says, "Is this what you do? Run away when things get hard?" And I felt like that didn't have to hit as hard as it did.
Yeah.
So he said that to her, and I can't remember what was the situation, but when you are an avoidant person, either avoiding your feelings or avoiding like a situation, when someone says that, it's a very impactful moment.
Oh, it hits right.
You're being seen in that moment. So I thought the honesty was a very important piece. But he does keep testing her. I mean, with the power and the shifting and helping her with her control and focus, using the tough love, like you said. But honestly, at times I feel like it was a little bit more than tough love. It was
a lot of more. It was like abject violence.
Yeah. But there was a moment when Rowan did find out that she was formerly a slave. And he was feeling very regretful of some feelings that he had before, and almost whipping her and treating her very badly. So he was having some, like, as you get to know the person and their story, you're like, oh shit, like I see where they're coming from and what they experienced. Maybe I shouldn't have been that way. And that was his part. And I feel like for her, I don't recall when she said this, or if it was like about why she became an assassin or how she currently felt, but she said, I wanted to hurt people the way I was hurt, and I was good at it. Which is, it's taking those negative feelings and taking it out on other people, which is, for an assassin, I guess, like, that would work out for you if you,
it's part of your profession.
But in the real world,
in a relationship,
like hurting people because you are feeling hurt is definitely not great.
Yeah. So I think they are both hurting each other based on their own hurts.
Yeah.
It's and sometimes not on purpose. And I like that you highlight that Rowan, once he kind of puts his fucking thinking cap on and has a little bit of empathy, because that's what really cracks his shell, is the empathy part, is discovering her story and understanding her perspective. He goes, of course she didn't trust me with this. I gave her no reason to trust me, and she's carrying all this shit, and I have no idea, and I'm just treating her like shit. And so it's that thing of once he builds that empathy, he can now start to see her as a full person and not just as this like bratty girl with apathy. He can see the why. He can track it. And I think she does the same thing. They learn about each other.
Right.
And they can track the why, and they can go, oh, this is why you're showing up the way you are. So that's their sort of where their relationship is headed. And I'll get into more here in a moment. But the other thing I wanted to highlight about this time as they're going through these several events is what they're learning about the Valg. So in the previous books, we've been introduced to things like the Ritterak and these demon creatures, but we don't quite know what they're called. We get a name, and it's the Valg. And what we learn later is that when Celaena went through the Whitefield, she ran into that creature that was showing her all her worst enemies. That is a Valg. And in addition to what happened to her personally, Rowan and Celaena have been investigating several bodies that are being found in various places that have been pretty much drained and turned into like husks. And so they're deflated bodies. They've got sort of nothing left in them, and their faces are struck in horror. And what you learn later is what that Valg was doing to her in that Whitefield before she got away was what they were doing to the other Demi-Fae, which is they suck
like the life out of them.
Yeah, they suck the life out of you through your terrible memories, and so that's why all the faces are like horror stricken.
Yeah, gross.
And they are doing this specifically to Demi-Fae because Demi-Fae make good hosts for these Valg creatures. So they take what's called a wordstone collar, they latch it onto a Demi-Fae, and a Valg inhabits or possesses their body, and that is how the Valg that is how the Valg are moving through this world.
Wow.
You're like, wow, this is so cool.
Well, because it reminds me of something at the end that I was really sad about, but we'll get to that. Very cool concept.
Yeah. So they feed on the misery of other people in order to kind of like gain strength or feel satiated. And as they're doing these investigations, and as Celaena and Rowan are sharing more about themselves, you learn several important things about each of them in their trajectory. One, you learn Rowan's history, and he ends up telling her about it. Like, he almost throws her out of his room one night, but then he's like, all right, stay, like, I'll talk you through it. And what you learn is that he had a mate hundreds of years ago. He had a mate named Lyria, and in those days he was a younger, more proud Fae male, and he was very glory seeking. And so what he would do is he would go on military campaigns and leave his mate in their mountainside cabin. And on one particular campaign, while he was away, Lyria was murdered. And when he came back and saw her body, he realized she was also pregnant. And she had begged him not to go, and he went anyway and left her defenseless. And so he was so lost in his grief that for the first 10 years after her death, he was out of his mind. Like, he was like, I didn't eat except for when my hawk form demanded it. Like, he became unrecognizable as himself.
So
and
sad.
At 10 years after that point, Maeve came to him and said, you need to cut the shit, take a blood oath to me, serve me as your queen, and get out of this rut. Now,
cut the shit. Like, the guy like lost his mate and
what
future child.
what I infer and what we infer from that is that Maeve's got her own ends to meet, that it's not an altruistic reason why she's asking him for a blood oath.
Right.
And he's so lost in his grief that he just takes it. He's like, I will do anything other than just whatever the fuck it is I'm doing right now.
True.
And he says that he has never been the same since. He's never totally come back from that.
I can see that.
And he's trying to get his claw his way back, but he isn't back yet. Alongside of Rowan dealing with his shit, Selena reveals some really powerful things to Rowan, and she learns that talking about your problems can actually help you.
Wow.
Weird.
If only that was like a profession of some sort.
Like if somebody set up a scenario where people could come and get their emotions out and their feelings to feel better.
I think that'd be pretty successful.
That'd be pretty cool. I think you could probably like do a whole thing around that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she comes to terms with some truths that she's been denying as she says them to Rowan. One is that she's really angry at Nehemia for lying to her and for leaving her. They had promised each other no more lies, and Nehemia didn't honor that. And so she misses her and she feels incredibly guilty, but she's also really angry and kind of hates that she's angry. Two, she divulges her experiences in End of Year to him, and not just what happened, because we know what happened. We know the events, but how it felt, what it was like to be her in End of Year. And I think that's what separates what she tells him from what she tells other people is like, yes, I was in End of Year. Yes, I got whipped. Yes, all this bad stuff happened.
Right.
It's like a clinical description of like no feelings.
Yeah.
The way she talks to him about it, the loneliness, the despair, the soul crushing nature of that place, that's what she divulges to him and what helps her. And then third and finally, and this kind of provides us with answers as well, is she fears above all things owning her identity as Aelin, because she has this rage inside of her and she feels like if she ever lets it out, she's going to burn the world down. So it's for her and other people's safety that she says, I can't be Aelin, because if I am Aelin, then I'm going to destroy everything. And so we learn why she's been denying her identity, why it's been so hard for her to have to show her fire magic, why it's been so hard for her to shift. It's because she fears these things that are at the core of herself. And this is sort of the first time that you see that she's like, oh, actually, I might be able to talk about this and like it will be okay.
Yeah. I immediately was like, well, those are some excessive worries of things that might not happen.
Well, yeah.
So the practicing of your magic can help maybe like prevent some of those fears from actually happening. So,
and I think that's what she finds is once she's practicing it, once she gets into it, in some ways, in a weird way, eventually, Rowan gives her a safe space to explore this. And at one point he even says, hone your anger. Anger is not the enemy here. Use it. Hone it.
Yeah.
Like, make it a part of how you access your magic if that's what you need to do.
Yeah, use it as a strength, not a weakness.
Yeah. And I get why. Like because we're being introduced to memories from her past along the way. Her parents were afraid of her magic. She at one point burns some books in the Library of Orinth, and people are scared of her and they won't let her around other kids because they're afraid of her. So she's been learning since the time she can remember that her magic is not to be trusted and she should be afraid of it and afraid of herself.
You know what it reminds me of? Bringing in a little Disney. It reminds me of Frozen. Like Elsa with her magic and having to literally be separated from Anna because, you know, she almost like froze her to death a little bit. But that was very interesting. Let it go.
Let it go. Do you want to build a snowman?
Yeah, and even in like the song of like conceal, don't feel.
Yep.
You know, it's like very like can't show your powers and all of that. So it reminded me of that.
And I think that's a perfect analogy for that, or a perfect metaphor for that, because that is how she feels about it.
Yeah.
She was taught even by her own parents and people who loved her,
Yeah.
that her magic was not to be trusted, that she was that it was something that had to be controlled and brought down, and that she didn't know how to do it. And so I think this builds empathy for Selena from the reader perspective, because we now can see this whole time we're like, Selena, come on, like, do it.
Yeah.
Make it happen. You have the fire inside you. Duh. And I think this, once you come full circle with this, you go, oh, this is why.
Yeah, you need the backstory. You need the
It's
info.
almost like you need to fully understand a person.
Right.
To have empathy for them. Yeah. So this, I think, warms. Selena and Rowan are very warmed toward each other after this. And Selena makes a comment that she realizes that they're mirrors of one another in their grief. And Rowan makes a really powerful statement by saying that he thinks that they could come back from the darkness together. That, like,
so sweet.
Yes, it's like, let's come back from this darkness together and help each other. And at the very end of that chapter where they have that conversation, the light inside her reignites. It's that fire that Nehemia said, never let it go out. And it had gone out in the process of this narrative. And it reignites with this conversation, with this pact between them to help each other come back from the darkness, which I thought was really cool.
I thought it was really nice.
Yeah. So they are now on the same team. They're trying to work out the Valg stuff, and they discover some pretty troubling stuff.
Yeah.
They go to investigate another death, and they discover on the cliffs near Mistward that are like leading to the sea, there are 3 Valg leaders and 200 mortal soldiers on these cliffs, and they're about to descend onto Mistward. Now, what's important to know with the Valg is, you might think, oh, only 3 of them. You kind of only need a few. They're so powerful, and their darkness and their eating of these, of these terrible memories is so powerful and vast. They can take out hundreds of people with their powers. So you don't need really any more than that to take down Mistward. They're intense, really outnumbered. And Rowan and Selena, they get into a little skirmish with one of the Valg, but they make it out, and they go tell everybody, and they're like, we need to get ready. Everybody get your guns out. Except there's no guns. No guns in this realm.
No guns in this realm.
They get all their crossbows out. I'll use the yieldy. They get their swords and their crossbows out, and they're like, light them up, boys.
Yeah.
And they start, fortifying Mistward and all these things. In the midst of that, in the midst of them getting ready, they receive the news that the King of Adarlan had ordered the slaughter of every slave in Endivir and Calaculla. And this is a devastating blow to Selena, because she had promised to herself, to Nehemia, that she was going to go free.
Yeah.
The people in the
that was like her original thing.
That was her one thing.
Yeah.
And it is at once absolutely just devastating to her, and I think a spark for her to be like, fuck this shit.
Yeah.
It puts a fire under her ass, and she's like, I'm coming for you. She's like, y'all are fucking done. Yeah. And I'm like, giddy up, like, here we
Finally,
go. Yeah, here we go. Here's Aelin. And you start seeing Aelin coming out to play. And so she's like all this pent up power. So she goes out to the wards and she pours her fire magic into the wards as a way to like expel all of her emotions over these people who have died. And so she's fortified the wards, and then the fighting starts. And what they discover is they've been betrayed by one of the Demi-Fae named Bas, B-A-S. And they have found the secret tunnel they were going to use to escape, and the Valg are coming, and the soldiers are coming through that. Well, actually, I think the human soldiers try to come through the tunnel, and now the Valg are coming at the wards, which are not going to last forever, and the humans are coming through the tunnel. And this means that Rowan and Selena have to split their efforts. Rowan goes to the tunnel to prevent. Selena agrees to go just outside of the wards to protect the wards with her fire.
Yeah.
And as soon as things start getting hinky, she tells Rowan that she'll go back into the wards to protect herself. This is a lie.
Yeah.
Or he tells her to do that, and she goes, sure, yeah, She doesn't intend to do that at all. She's going to protect it until she dies, essentially. Yeah. And so she is protecting the wards and using magic. She's getting weaker and weaker. And finally, her fire goes out and the Valg descend on her. And they start feeding on her memories. They feast on them. But they say, let's not kill her. Let's just sip enough to satiate us, and let's get her back to the King of Adarlan to make her really pay. And what they're doing as they're sipping these memories, they're diving deeper and deeper and deeper into these things that she didn't want to think about this whole time. And you learn, and she kind of learns, because she had been burying this for so long that she had a narrative in her head about what happened, but it turns out it wasn't quite what she thought it was. Once they were pulling these memories out of the darkness of her subconscious. And what we find out, and what she relives and finds out, is that when she was a child, the King of Adarlan had come to visit Terrasen and was using his Valg power on her. And at the time, she thought there was something wrong with her, that like, I'm uncontrolled or my fire magic is uncontrolled, but he was inciting, trying to dig into her head. And she could feel it in her mind, but she didn't know how to articulate it. And they thought she was getting ill from sort of being overstimulated, so they took her to another estate away from sort of the main palace, to a place that was less safe, to a place that was less guarded, and very much to the King of Adarlan's plans. And then so she knew her parents had gotten murdered. They were in their beds, and this memory has played over and over again for her, but she's getting clearer and clearer now that the Valg are digging through there. It's clear that the Valg had come to murder her parents, because one thing you notice with the Valg is they have a smell. It's a bad smell. Manon smells it. Selena smells it. Anybody, especially if you heightened smelled, Adian smells it. It smells weird and off, and they keep saying not of this world. So it smells gross. Yeah. And now that she's being forced to relive it, she knows, she can smell it.
The smell comes back. Yeah, I remember writing down notes, especially in the previous book as well, about the specific smell that is mentioned whenever she went down to like the catacombs or whatever the tomb is. There's a specific smell. And it kept coming up. So I'm like,
clocking it.
I'm clocking it.
Yeah. So she realizes that it was a Valg that murdered him. And there's a person that exists in this memory that she's been blocking out because she feels so guilty about it. And it's a woman named Lady Marion, who was a sort of like chambermaid / friend of her mother's. And Lady Marion finds her in bed with her dead parents, scoops her up and takes her to the kitchens and says, we're going to get you help. We're going to get to Adian. We're going to get to and wraps her in a blanket. But what ends up happening is the Valg comes back, or somebody comes back to finish the job. And Lady Marion, who has a husband and a daughter named Alid, it's Lord Locken and Alid Locken. Yeah. She sacrifices herself.
Yeah, she's like, run. And then I remember.
And she says, tell my daughter I love her. Yeah. And Aelin runs into the night. Yeah. And there's supposed to be a bridge there. There's no bridge, and she falls into the river. And what she figures out, because they're digging through her memories, is that this pendant called the Amulet of Orinth saves her from drowning. Yeah. And that when Arabin Hamel, the king of assassins, takes her off the riverbank, he took the Amulet of Orinth off of her. What she also discovers is that the Amulet of Orinth is a word key. It's one of the word keys. That'll become relevant later.
Yes. I was like, I know I wrote this down.
Yep. Yeah. So she gets to the bottom of all these memories, and what she realizes is they are not nearly as powerful when I'm not afraid of them anymore. Like, I have faced every memory and demon that I have, and I'm at the bottom of this, and I'm just not afraid anymore.
Yeah.
And it does something. It kind of shakes her from the Valg powers a little bit. Now they're still sort of oppressive, but they feed off of the fear. And when you're not afraid anymore, it kind of takes some of the oomph out of what they're trying to do. And so Rowan is watching her and the Valg descend on her, and Gavriel and his other cadre friend Lorcan are holding him back. They're like, she's gone, man. She's gone. He's like, she's not gone. And finally he gets away from them, and he goes and she's on the ground, and he offers her what's called the Karanam bond, where you can use each other's powers, but it's a really powerful bond. It also is one that can be exploited if you share it with the wrong person. So it's a great sign of trust that they're doing the Karanam bond together. So he slits his palm open, she cuts her palm open, and she uses his power. She channels his power to ignite her fire. And what you figure out is she can destroy the Valg with a powerful enough blast of her fire. She can sort of burn them from the inside out. And so she burns the Valg. Victory is had, and
awesome.
People survive, and it's a good day.
There
is one thing they have left to do, and that's go to see Maeve, Queen of the Fae, in Doranel. And she wants to go and find out how the word keys work. And in a classic show of a Fae promising you something, a shifty Fae person promising you something, the information she has is not all that helpful. She says, yes, I held them, all three of them at one time, hundreds of years ago when this happened. And they are a incredible, terrible power. And the one piece of helpful information to Selena is that they cannot be destroyed. They must be set back into what's called a word gate. So you have to put the word keys into the word gate, and it closes the gate between realms. So basically wherever these Valg are coming from, you have to use the keys to close the gate. And after she gets that information, things between Selena and Maeve get really hostile really fast. And because Maeve realizes that Selena knows where one of the word keys are, and she uses Rowan. She basically makes Rowan kneel, and then she says, what does she have one of the word keys? And he has to tell her the truth. But they were smart. Rowan said, I don't want to know where it is. Like, she started to tell him, and he was like, I don't want that to be used against me. So he speaks honestly when he says, I know she knows where one is, but I don't know. She didn't tell me where it is. And so Maeve starts to get heavy-handed and says, well, I'm going to torture Rowan until you fucking tell me where it is. And Selena says, I don't think so. I will burn this place to the ground. Maeve says, this whole place is made of stone. You can't burn anything. And she goes, I can burn your people. And she, throughout the entire city of Doranel, sets it alight, but none of the fires are actually touching people. They're just surrounded by them. And so you could hear the screams of fear of people, but she hasn't descended the fire onto them yet. And she's just basically
to test her.
She's like, do you see my, because that was Maeve's other thing. She was like, I want to see your power. She's like, this is my power. Set Rowan free, or I burn every single one of your citizens to death. And Maeve is like, this is a lot of power. And then Aelin, or Selena, adds on cherry on the cake is a golden ring that was the ring of her previous lover, Athril. She gets this ring and a sword when she saved Luca in that cave hundreds of pages ago. And you see it's written very under the surface, but she takes the sword and the ring, she holds on to them, and now reveals in this moment what she's been holding it for. Athril, Maeve, and Brannon, which is the first king of Terrasen, were all friends, and Athril and Maeve were lovers. And so she says, here's your lover's ring, and that pushes Maeve over the edge. Maeve is like, give me the ring, I'll break the blood bond with Rowan. And Rowan immediately takes a blood bond with Selena, Aelin. He's like, I want to offer you this blood bond. He does it in front of Maeve. So, and Selena's like, you tricky bastard.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to look weak in front of Maeve and I don't want to argue about it. So he takes a blood oath to Selena. They go back to Wendelin and they decide, well, Selena really decides that she needs to go back to Rifthold and get the Amulet of Orinth from Arobin Hamel, and that Rowan needs to stay here because he looks obviously Fae. Now there's no magic in Otterland, so once he's in Otterland, he wouldn't be able to shift. He wouldn't be able to
right.
But he's like 6 foot a million.
Yeah.
And he's got a tattoo down the side of his face in the old Fae language, and he looks like he's gonna kill everybody. She's like, you can't come with me. I have to do this alone.
You know, there was another moment that I feel like it was in the conversation of Maeve, and I can't recall, so maybe you can fact check. But I recall when they were discussing the word keys, someone, I don't know if it was Maeve or if it was Selena, mentioned, I think the king of Otterland has one.
Yes. Right? So Maeve essentially says, the king of Otterland has one. He has to have one in order to do this.
It was like, I would assume that he has one.
Yeah, but it's clear that he doesn't have all three. If he had all three, the world would be over already. The whole place would be overrun with Valg if he had all three. So she says he can't have all three. He has to have at least one.
To have one, yeah.
And so the king has one. Selena knows where the other one is. It's with fucking Arobin Hamel, and then the third one is yet to be seen or confirmed. If it's unsure if the king has it or whatever. So that is confirmed with Maeve, and in Chaol and Adian's through line, more information is added to that Selena doesn't know because she's not with them, but that we know as readers.
Yeah.
So that is the Rowan Aelin trajectory. That's like the longest bit of the plots and thoughts here.
Yeah.
What did you think about her journey in her narrative for this book?
I really did enjoy it, and I love the dynamic between her and Rowan. I love this like quest that now it brings more to the story. It adds more to the journey, so I can see, and I'm like fully invested. Remember when I said in the first episode I don't think I'd continue? I take my words back. I think now I know why this series is like so iconic. It's because it takes time to get to these details and to these like incredible story, and also when we like do the podcast, you are the storyteller. You are what did they call that guy? The guy who
the story keeper.
You are the story keeper. So I think it's so great, like reliving those like details and things like that. It's almost like kind of like a reread. So I see I see what it is.
Yeah.
But I loved their journey together, and I'm like, there has to be a bigger relationship, a more deeper relationship in this series with her compared to like the Chaol and Dorian part, because I'm like, they were giving a little something, but nothing compared to Rowan.
So you think Rowan's endgame?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, we see that.
I mean, do we?
When we get to the end. We get to the end.
So, well, and we'll have to talk about how you say, because the last time, at the end of the last book, it was Dorian's endgame. Dorian is actually Fae, and because he has magic, and they would co-rule.
That's what I thought.
Which I thought, like, that's a pretty.
But now we have Rowan now,
and Dorian ain't shit now.
I don't know. I thought he moved on from Selena real quick.
Okay.
To the Sorsha person.
Oh.
I was like, wait, how are you like already into this other person?
He moved on too fast for your liking?
Yeah. Because even Chaol still like, he has a little mixed emotions about Selena or Aelin and all of that, but he still almost like cares about her.
Okay. So in the order, would it be like Rowan, then Dorian, then Chaol? In order of preference for you?
I feel like I still would prefer Chaol to Dorian. Yeah.
Okay,
I don't know.
So it would be Rowan, Chaol, and then Dorian at the bottom because he has Sorsha.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Moving on. Okay, so there are other perspectives in this book, and I'm going to go over their perspectives. Some of them in more depth than others. I'm going to really try to hit on those most important pieces, and then we'll see how far we get. Maybe we'll take a little break, and we'll pause at an appropriate moment. But I do want to delve into the perspective of Manon Blackbeak.
Ooh, I loved her.
How'd you feel about her?
I loved her character. I mean, I love a witchy vibe. So whenever they were talking about her and the 13 and like it's giving coven, I loved this perspective. So I was locked in. I was locked in.
I knew you would love Manon.
Yes.
In the through the first 2 books, I was like, I cannot wait for you to meet Manon. I cannot wait. So here we are. We've finally have the Manon perspective. And Manon Blackbeak is heir to the Blackbeak witch clan or kingdom. And she is described as having stunning golden eyes, alabaster skin, and moonbeam hair, which are all, and she's described as stunningly beautiful, like distractingly beautiful.
Of course.
And in addition to these features, she has, and all other Iron Teeth witches have, iron claws and iron teeth that snap in and out at will. So she's this beautiful woman, and then she can become absolutely horrifying when those iron teeth snap into place and her iron claws come into play. And she describes herself, this is her self-description, as heartless and soulless. She lives for blood and violence and all of these things by her own estimation. And what we discover through her perspective is the whole build of the witch society, which has been hinted at in previous books.
Yeah.
I didn't highlight it because I kind of wanted this to sneak up on us a little bit. But throughout the first 2 books, there are little mentions of a witch queen in the Barren Wastes, or the witches of, like, they pop in and out, but you never get total understanding. There's a witch queen in the Barren Wastes somewhere who has like wine red hair. You hear these things, but it's sort of thrown in there as details and then other stuff comes in. So I made the decision, so not to highlight that. So that we could arrive at the witch society and be like kind of smacked in the face with it. So we discovered that witches are split between Iron Teeth witches and Croken or Kraken witches. In my head, I say Croken. So I'm going to, in the audiobook, do they say Kraken? Do you remember?
I don't recall.
Okay.
I feel like Croken.
Okay. I'm going to say Croken. Apologies, everyone, if it's Kraken. You could just pretend in your head that I'm saying Kraken. So 500 years prior to this story in the present, the Iron Teeth and the Croken witches had a war that was absolutely catastrophic. The Iron Teeth destroyed the Croken witch castle, killed the queen, specifically Baba Yellowlegs, killed the Croken queen. And in retaliation, the Croken queen cursed the land so that nothing will thrive on it under the Iron Teeth rule. She curses it. And now Iron Teeth witches are cast out to roam without a kingdom, without a home. And they, in retaliation for this curse, hunt and kill any Croken witches that they can find. There are 3 clans. There are the Blackbeaks, which is what Manon is part of. The Blue Bloods, and the Yellowlegs. And you would think that because they're all Iron Teeth that they would be buddies. They are not. They fucking hate each other. And it's very contentious, and tensions are really high between the clans. So getting them together is like kind of a disaster in the making, because they want to like rip each other's throats out. And I mean that literally. And Manon, again, from her own perspective, happily hunts down Crocan witches, engages in witch society, and believes in the values of that witch society. And she even goes so far as to wear the red cape of the first Crocan witch that she ever killed. So she wears it as a trophy. And it's the red cape of the Crocans is supposed to be an item of sort of pride for the Crocan witches, but Manon has turned it into this symbol of like violence that like, I'm coming for your ass. And Manon and all the other Iron Teeth witches are called to a place called the Farian Gap by the King of Otterlin and Duke Parrington. And they're offered a deal. They will be offered wyverns, which are dragons without front legs. They use their wings as their front legs, and then they have their back legs. The King of Otterlin has been breeding wyverns, and he needs a force of witches to fly these wyverns into battle for him. And the deal is, if you fly in this aerial unit and you help me conquer this continent, I'll let you keep the wyverns and you can rebuild your witch kingdom. And this is important for the witches for two reasons. One, witches used to fly on brooms.
Come we fly.
In a classic trope.
Hocus Pocus. Oh, I love it.
I love Hocus Pocus. So the witches used to fly on brooms, but when magic disappeared, the brooms stopped working.
Right.
So
clearly,
Manon talks about remembering the feel of the wind and the wind speaking to her, but she hasn't heard it in hundreds of years. She hasn't flown in hundreds of years. And then the other thing is, with magic gone, the witches have started to age at a mortal rate rather than an immortal. Like, she was immortal before. She said, I looked about 16 years old for hundreds of years, and now I look like I'm in my early or mid-20s. And she's like, the witches are like, we gotta
do something.
We gotta do something about this, because
I'm getting old.
I'm getting old. Oh my God, that took me out. I'm getting old. So they agree, we will fight in this aerial unit if you let us keep the wyverns, and we get to kill all the Crocans and take back our land. So when they all arrive, it's clear that there's a lot of tension between them. And the Iron Teeth witches live by three values, specifically the Blackbeaks, really, and Manon really believes in this. Obedience, discipline, and brutality. Obedience, discipline, and brutality. Her sense of justice regarding these values is very strict, and she is used to, on the regular, giving and receiving really harsh punishments for anything that's considered outside of that. Any sign of mediocrity, any sign of warmth, any sign of a lack of total subservience to the matron, who is Manon's grandmother.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I remember writing notes that, like, Manon's grandma.
Oh yeah.
What, Mima was very tough on her.
I think she would love that you called her Mima.
I remember writing that, like, she places an intense pressure on Manon to, like, win the games or whatever they have to, like, win. But I was just, I remember, like, when I was hearing it, I'm like, damn.
Yeah, no,
Grandma's tough.
Grandma does not fuck around.
She's not playing.
And Manon follows in her footsteps in some ways.
Yeah.
Now I think you see in her narrative, stuff starts to get a little hinky with that. But she starts this book very much in line. And even
it's what is expected.
She'll be like, well, you know, if grandmother gets mad about this, she'll probably beat the shit out of me, and I would deserve that because obedience and brutality. She does not question the methods of the witches, and her brutality is matched by the other clans. And there are, so Manon is the heir to the Blackbeak clan. There is Iskra, who's the Yellowlegs heir, and then there's Petra, who's the Blue Bloods heir. And each clan kind of has its own, what it's known for. The Yellowlegs are known for their hot tempers. If you think about who Baba Yellowlegs is as a person, it's kind of a personification of the Yellowlegs, like just rash and violent and cunning and will cut you down. The blue bloods are considered supposedly to be more spiritual. They have these spiritual rites. They have these prayers that they do to the three-faced mother, which is very in line with like witch lore of like mother, crone, daughter, or whatever.
Yeah.
So they each have their kind of specific what they do best, but they're all mega violent. They drink the blood of men. They get crazy with it.
I dig it.
You're like, I'm into this. So I had a question at this point, given what we know about the witch society. What do you think about the emotional and cognitive repercussions of being a part of a society like this? And how might these values impact the witches themselves, like as a whole, and Manon specifically?
I think with having these specific traditions in mind and like the values of the witch society and what is expected of you, I think it can have its benefits in keeping those like that culture and that tradition alive and whatever is connected to their power, and a lot of that is very connected to like their womanhood and them being together. But I think that loyalty and tradition can make things difficult and can test where your true values lie at some point. Because I mean, at some point, like you will either continue to bow down and accept all of like the harsh treatment, versus like maybe like going your own way and maybe disagreeing on certain things. I think at some point you being able to like stand up for yourself, and if something you don't like or anything like that, versus like being afraid of the repercussions, because clearly that's something that's happening. It's like, if grandmother is mad, I'm gonna get beaten to death, or I'm gonna have some serious issues. So it's tough. I think, those values can cause some rifts in their relationships. Maybe that's what happened with like the three clans.
Well, and I think I like that you highlight it. For me, it's almost the values themselves are good for keeping people in line. If you value obedience and brutality, and what was the third thing? Obedience, brutality, and discipline. Those are good values if you want people to be unquestioning in their violence and single-minded in following you in your violence. And if there's anything outside of that, that's a real, your society breaks down very quickly if anybody has any inkling toward tenderness or disobeying for their own good reasons. And so I think Manon very much starts this story in lockstep, so it's easier. It's if your grandmother's beliefs are your beliefs, no problems. Obedience, brutality, discipline. You can follow that.
Yeah.
You can be controlled with that. As soon as you bring anything else into the equation, it starts to crumble pretty quickly. Especially with that the obedience one really gets me. It's like, obey. And once you don't obey, it starts falling apart.
They lose like what they have, like
the identity, a society is a varied thing, and if you don't have obedience to one ideal or one thing, it starts to fall apart. So outside of the witch society as a whole, Manon specifically, one is the heir to the Blackbeak clan, so there's a lot of pressure on her, and she is in command of a group of witches called the 13, and they are a tight unit. They have been flying the skies and running the earth together for hundreds of years, and Manon is dedicated to them moving and thinking and operating as one. It is, they are so connected to each other that they move in sync with one another. And specifically, there's lots of witches who are listed in that 13, and I think she names all of them. I know she names all of them at one point or another, but the two people who come up most often are her second in command, who's her cousin Astrid, and her third in command, who is Sorrel. And their pact to each other, and something that Manon says to them over and over again, is until the darkness claims us. And this is a promise to each other that until the darkness claims us, we will be by each other's side. And you can see that they have a profound bond through that promise. So that is the form and function of Witch Society. I think this might be a good place to do a little pause before we delve into the action of Manon's story and move into the other narratives. So let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll finish our plots and thoughts, we'll do our teehees, and we will do our therapy deep dive.
Nice. Okay.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Right, so we are back for the next part of our episode on Heir of Fire, which is one of the Throne of Glass books. It's book number 3. And last we left off, we had just acquainted ourselves with Witch Society.
Yes.
And you had declared your love for the witches and the Witch Society. You're like, yes, I did. And so now that we understand the structure of who the witches are and what their society looks like, we're going to move into what are they actually doing through the arc of this book.
Right.
And the main job of the Iron Teeth witches at this point is to train with their wyverns and to spar and train combat wise. They're already trained in combat, but it's that maintaining that combat training and making sure that they're physically where they need to be while they're selecting and training with wyverns. And there's a couple of different steps that go into that. One, they have to see how the wyverns work and kind of watch how to engage with a wyvern.
Right.
Then they have to pick their wyvern, and then they have to train with their wyvern to do what's called the crossing, which is this really dangerous maneuver that all wyverns have to do to prove that they are ready to fly with their riders.
Yeah.
And you basically drop off the sheer edge of this cliff and you dive down until it kind of looks like you're going to hit the bottom.
Like crash.
And then the wyvern's wings snap out and you fly out of the crossing. And this is sort of the test that you're ready to fly on your wyverns. From the very beginning, there's one wyvern in particular named Titus, and Titus is the prize that all of the Iron Teeth witches are looking at. He's the biggest wyvern. He's very violent. He's a bull. He's like very clearly the best wyvern of them all, according to everybody who sees him. And Manon sees him and is basically like, that one's mine.
I gotta have you.
Yeah, but also so doesn't Iskra from the Yellow Legs clan. Right. So doesn't Petra from the Blue Blood. So everybody's looking and going, that one's mine. So Manon has her work cut out for her in terms of getting Titus as her wyvern. And so at one, and they start training with basically like very well-mannered wyverns that are not going to be their final wyverns, but they train with these like gentle little wyverns in the meantime. So they start to get used to flying, and like the 13 are really good at it, and they're kind of learning the maneuvers. And at one point they are on a platform, a bunch of the Iron Teeth are on a platform watching each of the wyverns come out and display their skills. And the idea here is that the Iron Teeth witches will see the skills of a given wyvern and make their selection, and then they will sort of claim that wyvern as their own. So they're watching from this platform. Titus comes out, and Titus and all the other wyverns that are being selected are showing their skills basically on what are called bait wyverns, which are these wyverns that are smaller or considered sort of more puny, and they're just there to be punching bags for the bigger wyverns. They're there to just
That sucks.
Yeah. Well, and it's, it's cruel and all this, and Manon knows this, and she, at the beginning, she doesn't really care. She's like, yeah, it's kind of how it goes, but they're these bait beasts that their only job is to kind of get beat up by the other wyverns, and their like tail spikes are shaved off, and they're not well taken care of purposefully because they don't want the bait wyverns to hurt the actual wyverns. Unfair and
cruel.
Honestly, again, Manon doesn't really care about that at the beginning. She does not start by being particularly warm toward any particular person or being. And she sees it, but she doesn't really track it. Well, they are on this platform, and Iskra, the Yellowlegs heir, goes oopsie poopsie and shoves Manon into the pit, and she goes tumbling down, and now she's in the pit with Titus and with the bait wyvern. And at first, like, Manon's just trying to get out of there alive.
Right.
And what happens is Titus goes to go after Manon, and the bait wyvern and Manon end up teaming up to defeat Titus because he's so violent that he's going to kill them both if they don't do something. So out of necessity, Manon and this bait wyvern team up together, and to everybody's surprise, the bait wyvern seizes up and takes Titus by the throat and kills him.
Look at that.
Yes. And so Manon looks into the eyes of this wyvern, and she sees what she says is a true warrior. An animal that was not designed to survive has survived all this shit.
Yeah.
And just took out the biggest fucking animal in the pen. And she's like, that's mine.
Yeah.
Like, you are mine. This one's mine. And again, and she names him Abraxos.
Yeah.
And Abraxos's tail spikes have been shaven off. He has rotted teeth. His wings have holes in them from being just beaten.
Yeah.
But she sees in him a warrior. She sees a beast that would not be killed or defeated by the other wyverns, even given every disadvantage. And so Manon goes to him, and she kind of senses that he might be sentient, and like most people think that the wyverns are just animals, but she senses that he's calculating in some way. And so she goes, this one's mine. Her grandmother's furious. She's like, you're an embarrassment. How the fuck could you embarrass me like this? But Manon, for the first time ever, kind of diverges from her grandmother's path or grandmother's wishes.
Right.
And I'm not saying that, we can make of that what we will, but it is a break in their view of the world.
Right.
And so Manon works really hard with Abraxos. She gets his sawn off tail spikes replaced with iron tail spikes.
Yeah.
She gets any of his missing teeth replaced with iron teeth.
Yeah, which is like
a
process.
It kind of turns him into an iron tooth witch. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it's like now they have both iron teeth and iron nails. I like it. It's gritty.
Yeah.
But it takes 5 days. And she says to him, she's like, you're going to fucking hate what they do to you next, but you're going to let them do it because I'm not letting you embarrass me. So you're going to take
tough
it.
Love.
And he does. He doesn't like it, but he takes it. And then what's becoming clear is that even despite Abraxos physically not being in a place, they have to do the crossing, and they start flying together, and it's going well, but it's clear he's not going to be able to do the crossing. So Manon and Abraxos go to what are called the Stygian spiders in the Rune Mountains, and they steal their coveted spider silk. There's also a little story they tell about a man who came to see them a long time ago and bartered off 10 years of his life.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put that there for you.
Yes, I did.
We'll see you later with that.
I took note of that. I thought that would be important when I
just put that in your mind, and then we're going to move on. And so She steals the silk from the spiders by tricking them, essentially. And she
Yeah.
has the spider silk grafted onto his wings. And they continue to train and continue to train. And what she notices in her training, or what she establishes, one, Abraxas is definitely sentient. He understands her when she speaks, and he kind of organizes the other dragons like she's organizing the 13. They are leaders together of the 13.
So cute.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, people, let me tell you about my best friend. And she would not like you saying that. But it wouldn't like me touting them as best friends, but
Yeah.
we know they're besties. And then she also notices that something is wrong with the blood of the men who work in the Farian Gap and in Morath. And Abraxas won't eat the food that comes from the mountain.
Oh, I wonder.
Interesting. It tastes off. She smells it, and it smells off, and it tastes off, and the blood of these men is off. So she goes to her 13, and she says, we will no longer be eating the food they give us, and we will not be training with the others. We're going off on our own. And she basically says them and their wyverns are going to be as tight and as disciplined as they are as people or witches, and they are not to mess with, to eat or to drink the blood of. And even many of the 13, they go off and they have like, affairs with the men in the mountain. And at some point she says, stop fucking those men in the mountain, go to the town. Like, we're to have nothing to do with whatever weird smell
is going on in the mountain.
Taste is coming out of this place.
Yeah.
So they kind of go off and do their own thing. And Manon tries to get Abraxas to do the crossing, and he won't do it. And then Iskra takes a whip to him.
Oh, yeah.
Which terrifies him because he was a bait beast. And Manon goes absolutely feral on his behalf.
Yeah.
She beats the shit out of Iskra. She gets punished. And Abraxas watches all this go down. And he tracks, this is what she is willing to do for me. And so when Manon's grandmother comes back to her and says, you will do this crossing, or you're going to pack your shit and leave, or you're going to die. And I don't really care which, but it's now or never, do the crossing. And so so they're getting ready to do the crossing, and Manon sort of grabs him by the snout and says, you are one of the 13 from now until the darkness cleaves us apart. You are mine and I am yours. Let's show them why. It makes me verklempt. And they do the crossing successfully with all these modifications they've made to his wings and to his spikes. He is finally able to do the crossing. And Manon and her black beaks enter what's called the War Games, which is the game that establishes who will be the wing leader for the witch clans.
Yes, it's all coming together.
It's all coming together.
Yeah.
And so, and they each have an egg, and they have to protect it and grab the other eggs. There's the whole thing. The point being that Manon and her Blackbeak coven win. Manon becomes the wing leader. And in celebration, air quotes around this, because there's two things, there's an undercurrent here, because Manon has displeased her grandmother by picking Abraxas. She's displeased her. At one point she saves the Blue Bloods heir from death, Petra, and that displeases her grandmother. There are these little things that she's doing that are outside of her grandmother's control or outside of her desires. And so as a celebration, she brings in a Croakan witch that they have caught and tortured and been keeping hostage.
Wow.
And she has the Croakan witch kneel in front of Manon, and she says, Manon, as a reward and surreptitiously as a reminder of who you fucking are and who I am to you, you will kill this witch as a show to everybody of what you believe in and your obedience and your brutality. And the Croakan witch says a few things, but one of the most important things she says is, she goes, you know big secret we have is we Crokins pity you.
Mm.
We're not afraid of you. We don't hate. I mean, some of us hate you, but what we most do is we pity you. And she says that she tells Manon, you think you were born this way, but you weren't. You were made to be this way. And that is what is such a pity, that you could be so much better than what you are and you're not. And Manon listens, and it's interesting because she's like, I feel something happening inside, like a feeling is happening, but I don't understand what that is.
Yeah.
But she's in front of her grandmother, in front of everyone else, and so she slits the throat of the Croken Witch. And the Croken Witch at the very end kind of looks at her like, do it. Fucking do it. At the very end of her arc, the matron goes to Manon and tells her that the witches are being called to Morath, which is this particular mountain that's a bit closer to Adarlan, and they're going to await further instructions on these attacks that they're going to perpetuate on behalf of the King of Adarlan. So Manon and her 13 head for Morath, and they're fired up. They're on their wyverns. They're as a unit.
Which is interesting when you notice some foreshadowing happening in the other books of like, I forget her name, of like, well, I know Nehemiah said this too, but like the other lady who was stuck in the dungeon, of like, I hear the wings flapping, or like, I hear the wings.
Flapping wings. Yeah.
Which is obviously, you know, I'm trying to remember if in the audiobook it was like wyvern.
Oof.
I think it's wyvern.
If that's true, you just let me go. Well,
wyvern. I feel like that's like my instinct to say it that way.
Big apologies to everyone, because I've been saying wyvern the whole time.
It's okay.
Thank you.
But I think it's like a great foreshadowing moment of seeing like this is probably like the wings in question of like, what's this war situation that's gonna happen?
Okay, all right. I see where your mind's at.
Yeah.
All right, we'll have to see. So the question at the end of Manon's arc here. So I and as I stated at the beginning of her perspective, she starts this story really asserting that she's heartless and soulless. And specifically, she says, despite what the Croken Witch had said, and this was the Croken Witch that she killed, Manon had not been born with a heart or a soul. She did not need them. Do you think this is true? And how do you see Manon responding to emotions the little couple of times they come up across her narrative?
I definitely don't think it's true. Like, not having a heart, not having a soul. Clearly, it's something that's there. It's maybe something that they have told themselves as witches to be able to perform their brutal acts and have no like remorse and things like that, and know that it's either for the greater good or whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't think she's heartless or soulless, because I would assume to have a soul you have to believe in even the most harsh ways of being. Like, you have to have a soul to believe in that, right? Like, you can't just follow something without feeling a connection to it.
Oh, so even her connection to her like Iron Teeth values, it shows that she believes in something deeper of herself.
Yeah.
And I think too, she tells this narrative to herself so strongly that she doesn't even recognize when you can see her soul or her emotions.
Right.
There's a couple of moments where there's a moment where her 13 look like they're about to defend her against her grandmother, and she says she feels like a stirring in her body, but she doesn't know what that is. And then again, Abraxas, when they're about to do the crossing, he looks up and growls at her grandmother because and in protectiveness. And again, she feels like a twinge in her chest. It's like, you know, in like The Grinch when it's like, and his heart grew 3 sizes that day. Like she's like, there's a thing happening in my chest, and but that can't be anything because I'm heartless and soulless.
But that's what they've all tried to convince themselves until and it's like when you push down your emotions so much, but then the little feelings and the little things that you notice, she's noticing the changes that she's feeling. She doesn't quite know what it is yet, and I think that is to be discovered. So
it's the like she knows something is happening, but she can't identify it. She can't put a name on it.
It might have been a long time since she felt something.
Maybe.
Or, you know.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. So that wraps up Manon's perspective, and that's a whole arc that occurs in the Farian Gap, and in Morath that's totally separate from the remainder of the characters who we're going to discuss. We're going to talk about what Chaol and Adian have been up to. They weirdly have been buddy through this book, and they don't like it, but they are. And then we're going to talk a little about Dorian and Sorsha, and then the end of the very end of the book and their arc. So we find Chaol back in Rifthold, but he has agreed because his father supported Aelin, and I'm going to call her Aelin from now on because everyone else calls her Aelin. She never calls herself Aelin. Everyone else does. So I'm very purposely moving from calling her Selena to Aelin because Chaol, Adian, Dorian, everybody else thinks of her as Aelin, and so I think it's an important. Names are important, and names are important to Aelin's story. Which name she's embodying, which name she's invoking, and so I stuck with her name because that's what she was embodying, and now I'm gonna use Aelin to mark what everyone else's mindset has been.
Got it.
Over here. So, Chaol's dad had agreed to support Chaol's decision to send Aelin to Wendelin. And so in return, he has to go back to Aniel and rule his ancestral home, which he had forsaken several years ago. And he, in the end of the last book, had figured out that she is Aelin, so he's kind of reeling from that. And along comes Adian Ashriver, who is Aelin's cousin and a person who looks very much like the male version of Aelin.
Yeah.
He is very tall. He is blonde haired and he's got those Ash River eyes. It's the turquoise with the golden rim on the inside. And Chaol comments internally how similar they are and like what a wild thing it is to watch Adian move through the world in a similar way that Aelin moves through the world.
When he was first introduced, I thought it was like a sibling or something. I didn't think it was like
they're cousins, so they're not siblings. But it makes sense that you feel that way because when they were younger as children, they were like siblings. He was the only one who was allowed to hang out, the only child allowed to hang out with her. And his whole job when they were children and his whole purpose was to be her protector. Which becomes important later. But Adian rolls up from campaigning in the north where he usually is, and his stated job is as general for the king of Adarlan, and his whole thing is about quelling rebellion in the north on behalf of the king. That is what everybody thinks he's doing. He is quelling rebellions of people from his own country on behalf of the king of Adarlan. And for those reasons, he is known colloquially as Adarlan's whore, that he's whored himself to the king of Adarlan to essentially murder his own people. Now, we find out very quickly that is not actually true, that he's been working to subvert, but he portrays, it's very similar to Aelin's like swaggering, almost like obnoxiously confident, this shield he puts up so that everybody sees what they think they want to see. He embodies that. I'm Adarlan's whore, who gives a fuck. And deeper down, he is riddled with guilt about not being able to protect Aelin, because when he shows up in this narrative, he thinks Aelin's dead. So we find out that he is working with the rebels to undermine the king. When we meet him, though, he looks like the douchebag that he pretends to be.
Yeah.
And
I liked him a little bit.
you liked him a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. And Kale, when he meets him, thinks he's super gross. He's
Yeah.
carrying, Adian carries the sword of Orinth, which is the sword of the line of royalty of Terrasen.
Yeah.
And he's like, you don't deserve to carry that sword. He also has one of those obsidian rings.
Oh,
and
yeah.
so Kale has been tracking the roll of the rings. He's like, I don't trust you. You're under his thumb, all this stuff. So Adian is throwing parties left and right. He's going down into Rifthold. He's like, come to my party. And he's inviting all the soldiers. He's like, come to my soldier party. And Kale one night catches a couple of his people leaving to go to the party. He's like, and Kale being like, honor bound man, was like, I'm going to get him.
Yeah.
And so he rolls up to the party.
Hilarious.
He's you know, I was gonna say a whole bunch of things. I'm gonna keep my mouth shut, but Kale's Kale. So he rolls up to one of these parties intending to confront Adian and be like, the fuck? And what he discovers is he walks in, he goes up to somebody, he's like, yo, where's Adian? And the guy's like, oh, I think he went upstairs with that one girl and they're gonna hook up. So he goes upstairs and the girl's upstairs. She's like, oh, I think he went out back to go to the bathroom. And then he's like, okay. So he goes outside and then there's somebody outside. He's like, I actually think he's at the bar. And so Kale's playing like whack-a-mole with like, where is Adian? And what he discovers is Adian's not there. Everyone thinks they've seen Adian, and they have. He's been in various places at the party, but no one actually knows where he is. And so Kale's using his noodle a little bit, and he's like, well, I'm going to try to go to sort of several of these parties and kind of see what the deal is. And so he goes to a few of these and realizes Adian's not here. Simultaneous to the sort of figuring out Adian stuff, he's also really trying to protect Dorian and wants to find a way to protect Dorian from having his magic found out before he leaves. And he thinks the best way to do that is to get magic out into Adderlands all over the place so that Dorian's magic kind of just falls in line with all of that and it doesn't seem weird. And so after he goes to some of these parties and keeps doing research on behalf of Dorian, one night he follows Adian as Adian pretends to be like, I have to go take a piss. And he like goes out back and then all of a sudden he like flips a little hood over his head and slinks off. And Kale's like, I'm sneaky. And so he slinks off after Adian. And he figures out that Adian has not been partying. You figure out that Adian has been working with rebels. So my first question for you, sort of after you have absorbed the complexity of Adian as a character, kind of where we find him at the top of this narrative, what do you see Adian dealing with emotionally in relation to his role as general for the king and also in his ties to Aelin? Like, what do you think's going on for him psychologically and emotionally that maybe people on the outside aren't really seeing?
I think he's like trying to put up this facade and I can only assume that it's very difficult. It has you not being able to get close to anyone or kind of tell anyone what you're going through. So really keeping things to yourself, always having to be very secretive. So I feel like emotionally he's very to himself. And I mean, I'm assuming with like the whole rebellion and all that, he's able to have his purpose and maybe speak in that way, but I like trying to fool the king and everyone. It's a tough job. It
feels very Aelin-esque. Like the like, I'm keeping my walls up.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let anybody know really what I'm doing or what's going on.
Yeah.
And I think he's racked with a lot of guilt. You see that his role, his true identity was always as Aelin's protector and he couldn't be that for her. And now, mind you, he was 13 or something.
Right.
She was 8 and he was 10 or something. Like he was young.
They were kids, yeah.
And so, but he harbors. He thinks I should have been there. I should have been there to protect them.
Yeah.
And so Adian's off doing rebel stuff. Kale's following behind. Kale gets caught, and they bring him in and they tie him up and they beat him up a little bit. And Adian, or Kale challenges Adian and says, I know you have the obsidian ring. You're a pawn of the king. He says to the rebels, like, don't believe this guy.
Yeah.
He's bad news bears. And what we find out is that Adian had made a replica ring because when he received it from the king, he said it smelled weird. It smelled off. And Adian is Fae. Adian is part Fae. So he has the heightened senses of the Fae. And so it's especially pungent to him, the smell of this ring. And so he threw that ring into the sea and had made an exact replica.
Yeah.
So that the king would think that he's under his thrall, but that he's not. And then, so Adian's like, so rebel friends, I am chill and I'm doing the good work. And then he's like, Kale, now's the time to die. And so Kale drops a little knowledge on him and is like, yo, guess what? Aelin's not dead. It blows his mind. And
awesome.
Adian's like, well, now I got to keep this fucker alive because
he's useful.
We got to exchange some words now. And so Adian and Kale become uneasy. Allies is a strong word, but they could see the usefulness of each other.
Yeah.
And they start exchanging information back and forth. Kale tells Adian what he knows about the word marks and the word magic. Adian fills in some gaps about the movements of the King of Adarlan and about the movements of the rebels. And they're in Elena's tomb talking about this because they're like, we need some privacy. And guess who eavesdrops on them? Dorian. So Dorian hears him talking to this guy about all the magic shit.
Yeah.
And he kind of steps down into the light and is like, what the hell are you doing? And why are you not involving me in any of this? I could help. And Kale is trying to say, I'm trying to protect you. I'm trying to keep you out of this. I don't want you to get hurt. And it kind of creates it. There's a rift between them throughout the narrative. And so Adian, in exchange for all this information about the word marks and all that good stuff, Adian says that Ren and Murtaugh Allsbrook, who are two lords of Terrasen, have some more information about how this magic works and that it could be helpful. And so they all end up at Aelin's warehouse apartment that she had gifted Kale in her will.
Yeah.
But it's very much her place. And you could see her reflected. She loves her finery. You can even see the colors of Terrasen kind of in there, and Adian comments on it. And what Ren and Murtaugh tell Kale is that 10 years ago when magic disappeared, they figured out that there were 3 obsidian towers in 3 different towns: Knoll, Amarith, and Rifthold. And it creates kind of a triangle across the continent of Aurelia. And they believe that those towers were activated 10 years ago to keep magic suppressed within the continent. And then Adian supplies his own memories of when magic disappeared. And at the time when those obsidian towers were activated, there were these pulses of magic that everyone could feel kind of rocking through the land. And like birds were fleeing, animals were fleeing about the time this pulse occurred. So Dorian or Kale asks Dorian if he'll help him test this crystal magic, and they do. They put 3 tiny little crystals on the floor. They put red desert sand in between them, and they test: could you store some kind of magic or power within these crystals and use them to create like a force field? And it works. Dorian's magic fills up these crystals and creates a little miniature. So they figure out that they're right.
Yeah.
And so they realize that the towers have got to go if magic is going to come back. Their little arc ends when Murtaugh comes into Aelin's apartment with news. 1, that Aelin is back. And 2, that she kicked everyone's ass over at Mistward. Like all that shit we talked about earlier, it's getting out. And so everyone's like, fuck yeah. Like Aelin's back. Fired up. Yeah, everyone's like, rebellion on. And so Murtaugh goes through the lands and sends out messengers with the message that Aelin is back. Aelin is here to save us from this oppression. Meanwhile, Dorian and Sorsha have their own little thing going on.
Yeah, they do.
Dorian, which in Dorian's defense a little bit, Chaol is no longer talking to him about anything because he wants to protect him.
Yeah.
Aelin's gone. His dad's an asshole, and so isn't Duke Parrington. He doesn't really have anybody.
Yeah.
And he's got all this magic, and he doesn't know where the fuck to go with it. And
Poor
so,
guy.
yeah, honestly, like, he's lonely, and, like, nobody will talk to him, and it's like,
Except
what do I do?
This healer woman.
So Dorian is sort of going through the motions as he always does and trying to keep his magic tamped down, but it pops out at these crazy moments that he doesn't like.
Yeah.
And so he at one point Aedion actually pushes him into a thorn bush and he goes to see a healer, and it's Sorsha, and he goes, "This is the healer that healed me and Aelin and Chaol and Fleetfoot. Like, she's been here and I've never bothered to learn her name. Hey girl, what's your name?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm Sorsha. By the way, I've been obsessed with you for 6 years."
Oh my God.
She doesn't say that to him, but that's what she thinks. We see from her perspective.
It's too funny.
And so he can tell that she's kind of into him. So he keeps going back there. He starts sparring all the time, and he's like, "Oh, I have another injury." Like, he like wants people to punch him and stuff so he can like go in there and be like, "Oh." And so him and Sorsha start spending a whole lot of time together. And their connection gets more and more potent. They kiss. They share a bed for many nights without having sex in it.
It
yeah.
happened.
No, they literally say they did not have sex. He's like, we shared we shared a bed, but not in the way that I yearned to.
Oh, okay.
Again, making out for hours and hours. I don't know what else.
Where will that go?
Oh my God. It's YA is what it is, and I'm over it. I'm not over it. I love this series more than anything, and can we please just own up to the fact that somebody bangs somebody? Like, but they don't. Wow. They make out all the time. They touch. They whatever. They sneak around. Dorian loves to go see her working in her healer workshop, and it's so cute. It's like their connection
like teenage
is warm.
Love,
yeah, it's like they have some genuine warmth and togetherness, and they also are searching for a way to subdue his magic because they don't want it popping out in unruly moments. So they figure out that if they make this certain treacle with lots of iron in it and he drinks it, it is painful to him, but it keeps his magic tamped down. I would say, they never say this out loud, but you could see they're falling in love, and like, they've got an affection. And Chaol even makes a comment at one point that Adarlan could use a healer queen. So even Chaol's like, "Girl, I see you, and I kind of like it." Which makes the next part even worse. So Chaol and Aedion are doing their thing. Dorian and Sorsha are doing their thing. At the very end, we have this bombastic happening where shit all hits the fan. Dorian, Sorsha, Chaol, and Aedion are all brought into the king's chamber.
Yeah.
And the king accuses all of them of hiding something and being traitors. And there progresses several people trying to all save each other. Like, they're all like, I gotta take the fall. No, I gotta take the fall.
Yeah.
So Aedion kicks it off. Aedion's like, "Yes, it was me. I'm the traitor. I'm the bad guy. They didn't know anything. Like, fucking come for me, bro." And so the king's like, "Thank you so much. That was very helpful that you admitted to that. We're going to go ahead and put you in irons and get you down to the dungeons to use for bait for Aelin, because she will come for you when she knows that you're in the dungeons." And he's like, "You bastard," but they take him away. Then
I can't believe you fell for that.
They're not on their A game, but
Yeah.
also the king is very conniving, so I get it. Then Dorian tries to save Sorsha by offering the king anything he wants. He literally gets on his knees and is like, "I will give you anything if you just let her leave and get her out of, help, like, let her leave, and then you do whatever the fuck you want." But the king reveals that he knows that Sorsha has been spying on behalf of the rebels, which he absolutely has. They found a half-written note from her, which if you read carefully, earlier you see her writing a note, and then Dorian comes in and she crumples it up and throws it in the trash.
Yeah.
So
okay.
That Amethy, her supervisor, is a spy for the king, and she saw the note in the wastebasket, took it out. And so Dorian's like, I don't care. No. Please don't. And the king beheads Sorsha.
Yeah.
And this is devastating to Dorian.
Yeah.
He is absolutely bereft, and his magic, he can feel it building under his skin. Then the king has killed her, put Adian in irons, and goes to kill Chaol. And Dorian, that is a step too far for Dorian, and his magic blasts out to save his friend. And he knows he's not going to win this. And Chaol knows that Dorian knows that he's not going to win this. So Chaol realizes, Dorian's buying me time to escape. Somebody has to be alive and well to tell what has happened here today.
Yeah.
And Dorian has just ensured that it has to be me. So despite everything in Chaol's body telling him not to go, he goes and escapes. And the king, Dorian, falls into the trap that the king sent, which is like, I knew you had magic. I've been waiting for
He's like, I knew you had magic, boy.
Boy. Yep. And then he had a cowboy hat on, and no, he didn't. So I thought this moment to me is particularly, I think, poignant, because before Chaol leaves, he turns to Dorian and he says, like, before I don't ever get the chance to say this, I love you. Like, just to be able to, for a man to express his love for his friend, like, in that way, it just touches my heart. And it makes me think about the nature of Chaol and Dorian's relationship. It's long-standing. They've been in each other's lives for a long time, and they've hit some rocky points. But what parts of Chaol and Dorian's relationship do you think are strengths? And then what weaknesses exist in the way that they relate?
Well, in this scenario that we just experienced, they definitely have a strong relationship, and their friendship seems strong, and they have a loyalty towards each other. Obviously, when they were both kind of into Selena, that was a little bit of like causing them issues of, where Chaol maybe was trying to like step back a little bit, or like Dorian, when they noticed that there were things happening. And something that Chaol says to Dorian about Selena: you cannot pick and choose which parts of her to love.
Actually, I think that's opposite. Dorian says that to Chaol.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He says, and the only reason I know is this comes up in our therapy deep dive here in a minute. But Chaol struggles throughout his arc to accept Dorian's magic, and Dorian tracks. He's like, I can see the disgust in Chaol's eyes, and then he struggles to accept these parts of Aelin that have magic, but are also like this fey violence kind of stuff.
Yes.
And so Dorian says to him, like, one, Chaol, change is not bad. We're all changing, and you have to get on board with that. And two, you can't choose what parts of me or her to accept. And it was cool, that moment, because Chaol even comments, I was no longer looking at a prince, I was looking at a king. So Chaol can recognize that Dorian's right, but he's struggling to catch up. And like, what a powerful thing to be able to do that for a friend, to be like, you need to grow in these ways, you know?
And I think when you have a friendship like that you're able to mention some things, or like kind of check them in a way that would obviously benefit them and all of that, have them grow. I think that's a sign of a good friendship.
Honestly, so for me, when I saw their friendship throughout this book, especially the first time I read it, I didn't know if Chaol and Dorian were going to be okay. Like, Chaol keeping so much from him about the magic stuff, Dorian doing that. Like, it seemed like they were doing this. And I didn't quite know. And I am speaking from the first time I read it, so this isn't based on knowledge of future books. I didn't know what that was going to look like. And I thought it was so cool at the end when he just said, "I love you." Like, it was kind of like if he had had more time, I feel like it would have been like, through all this shit, whatever this is, whatever's going on with us, I love you and I want you to know that. And I just thought that was such a reaffirmation of, like you're saying, the strength of their bond. Because I had kind of lost faith in their bond for a second. And so it was cool to see them like coming together one last time.
I definitely thought, like, I thought the love part of the story would be like one of them would end up with Selena. Like I mentioned, I think I said like Dorian and Aelin were gonna like rule together or whatever.
I mean, they might.
They might. And I thought that scenario would push Chaol out and kind of like, you know, have them have that rift in the friendship. But I think them symbolizing their love and mentioning that like you still love each other.
I love that.
It's good.
So much. So, in the very end here, the king takes, once Chaol's gone, the king pins Dorian to the ground and around his own son's neck puts a wordstone collar.
Yeah. I was gasping.
Dude.
I was like, no fucking way.
And Dorian is fighting for everything he's worth, and it doesn't work.
Guy.
The wordstone collar goes into place, and he is overtaken by darkness. And that is the last thing you hear about his perspective.
Yeah.
What you see at the end of that thread is Chaol escapes, one with Fleetfoot in tow. He grabs Fleetfoot, which I'm like, go Chaol, go Fleetfoot. And he
no
grabs,
animals left behind, you know?
No, well, certainly not Fleetfoot.
Yeah.
No. So he grabs Fleetfoot. He grabs as many gold coins as he can from Elena's tomb because he's fleeing the castle and he's like, I gotta have some kind of currency. He grabs the sword Damaris and any magic books that he can carry that Dorian and Aelin have been collecting. Then he goes back to Aelin's warehouse apartment, and Ren Osbrook is there. And they realize that they are the only ones left free and available for the rebellion.
Right.
And they basically like shake hands and they're like, we're going to save Adian and we're going to save Dorian.
Oh, yeah.
And that is where
it ends.
It ends Dorian in a wordstone collar, presumably possessed by a Valg.
Yeah.
Chaol trying to set up a deal with Ren so that they can get involved in the rebellion in some way. Aelin on her way back from Wendelin to Rifthold. Rowan still in Wendelin, kind of resenting it, but in Wendelin. And Manon at Morath getting ready to attack. And there we are.
I cannot wait to read. Well, we're doing Assassin's Blade, so it'll be prequel vibes.
Yes,
next.
we have to get into a different place mentally. Go for prequel.
Yes.
And then we'll come back to,
because it makes sense in the story to read the prequel before the next like set of events in this current setting.
Well, and it's the publication order. So if you had been reading this while it was being published, this is the order that you would have been reading.
Got it.
So and I think after all of the events of Heir of Fire, Assassin's Blade will mean more. Now, knowing what you know now, I think Assassin's Blade will mean more.
So excited.
Sense.
I cannot wait.
So those are our plots and thoughts. Lots to think about here, lots to organize, and I imagine that in the future books, we're only going to get more sort of in-depth with things. But now it is time for our tee-hee moments. Yarlin, what are your tee-hees?
Okay, so I feel like I have a good amount on here.
I was going to say, you have like a robust list, I see.
I do. And they're like little words. They're like little things where phrases. When I was listening, I was like, that sounds nice. So I think it was the first time Selena shifted and Rowan says, there you are.
Ooh, like there you are.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
I thought that one was I'm telling you, I'm like, all of these, by the way, are Rowan.
Oh, because we're full.
We're full.
Full Team Rowan.
Team Rowan right now.
Oh, okay.
She kisses him fiercely. Can't recall when that happened or if that was...
Well, that was Sorsha with Dorian.
Okay.
Because I have that moment. I have a little bit of an expanded thing, but that was Sorsha
Okay.
kissing Dorian.
I was like, any type of kissing or any moment, I'm writing it down.
Yeah, if lips touch lips, we have to mark it because it's the only thing happening.
So that was okay, a little Dorian Sorsha moment. And Rowan in some scene says, "Wait, shut the door."
Yeah. Nothing sexual happens.
I thought that was a good moment.
He's just telling her his life story, but the fact that he tells her what to do and he tells her to shut the door.
I already, my imagination was running wild.
You're like, I erased the rest of that so that I could think what I wanted to think when you say, "Wait, shut the door."
Yes. And Rowan is able to speak in the ancient tongue, or a specific type of language.
Calling it these days.
A specific type of language. So, I don't know when he was speaking it, but Selena says, or Aelin, a death wish I would have him speak in only the ancient tongue to hear the beauty off his lips.
Oh, the word beauty and lips.
Yes.
It's all coming together now.
And like just the fact that like probably his voice sounds very amazing and beautiful.
Voice. He's got a deep voice.
And him speaking this language, it's like someone like speaking French.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Bonjour.
Yes, a Frenchman.
You're like, you do have to be a Frenchman if I'm gonna be Twitter pated by it. Listen, I took 7 years of French. I'm still not fluent. I'm still not fluent. Damn.
Well, so there are other little moments. She put a hand on his chest. Can't recall
hand to the chest
what situation that was, but I thought it was nice.
There was a hand on her chest.
She placed a smacking kiss on his cheek and he wiped it off.
I like that. It was a cute moment between them.
Was that with Rowan?
Yeah, he was like leaning over maps and stuff, and she was like being playful and affectionate with him, and he's very grumpy, and so she just like gave him a big smooch on the cheek, and he was like,
cute.
Yeah.
And someone says, "Apologies, masters. I am yours to instruct."
Again, not sexual. This was not.
How is that not sexual though? Like
they're having a snarky back and forth. It's Rowan and Aelin. They're having a snarky back and forth. They talk to each other a lot through looks. Like there's a lot of
little eye contact,
look to look,
yeah,
conversations happening. He basically is like, "You get this shit done," and she's like, "Of course, master." But if you read it in a different way,
I read it a different way.
Yeah, clearly.
And these two other ones are cute, more nice ones, because he does call her Fireheart. So he says, "To whatever end," Rowan looked into her eyes, that the deepness into the very core of her, and said, "Fireheart." And another one is, "Together, Fireheart."
Yeah.
Now I know why everyone quotes it or has it tattooed. I'm tempted.
Those
are my thoughts when I kept hearing it.
You're like, now I see why everyone's doing that.
Because there's so much like Throne of Glass, like
stuff,
art, tattoos, all of this.
Yeah.
You do not yield or whatever.
Yeah.
So a lot of little spoilers that I unfortunately saw.
Oh, what'd you spoil for yourself?
Well, it was just like the little quotes and stuff.
Okay.
So
all right, good to know. Well, I had a couple of them. One is that fiercely kissing scene between Dorian and Sorsha. And I pulled the whole quote with her, and I won't read it, but she basically is like, I'm gonna do exactly what I want for once, instead of like being responsible. And she grabs him by the lapels and kisses him, and I'm like, hell yeah, there's kissing. Then the quote where she's burning out from her using her magic too much. He takes her to the baths. She gets stripped down because that's the only way she can. Only way that she can fix her magic. And he said, "You're in Rowan's head," and it says, "He could see the whole expanse of ruined flesh, each scar from the lashings."
Yeah.
Who did this to you?
We love a who did this to you.
There's something about that anytime a who did this to you. That's on my teehees.
Yes.
And then he like gets all mad and like he's gonna go to Maeve, and then halfway there he realizes that he's left her like unprotected. And so He says in his head, she'd almost burned out completely, gods be damned, leaving her currently defenseless. Primal anger sharpened in his gut, brimming with a territorial possessive need. Not a need for her, but a need to protect, a male's duty.
I love it.
Okay. You use the word primal, possessive.
A duty that you need to fulfill.
Protect.
Wow.
Wowie. Wee wah. It's all coming together now. And then there was one, this is in when she's healing from that burnout, and he goes into full like mother hen mode. He won't let her leave the bed. He's bringing her soup every 10 seconds.
So cute.
She's like, you are fussing. She literally says that. He's like, she's definitely being fussy. But she says, or from her perspective, it says, and when she awoke before dawn, warm and safe and rested, Rowan was still holding her hand clasped to his chest. Something molten rushed through her, pouring over every crack and fracture, still left gaping and open, not to hurt or to mar, but to weld. Wow. Just wow.
Like, I love that.
To have like
so tender
hand to his chest. Oh, okay. And then there's two more. One, he brushed a large hand down her hair and she almost purred.
Oh.
Why stop yourself, girl? Purr, baby. And then the last one is Rowan slung his shirt over his head to get at the weapon strapped beneath, revealing his broad back, muscled and scarred and glorious. Fine. Wow. Some very feminine, innate part of her appreciated that. Girl, we all appreciate that.
I was just about to say, I appreciate it.
I appreciate it, personally. Shout out to Rowan and his muscly back.
I'm telling you, he's the one.
Is he?
He's the one right now.
Think so?
Yeah.
Like what percentage? You're 100%?
100%.
Okay. All right.
Everybody down
Clock
there.
It now.
Yeah.
Clock it now. Well, and we're going to have to see what you think the plot is from this point.
Yeah.
Anyway, so those are our teehees. We had quite a crop compared to our previous books. We actually got some together, which I thought was very nice.
Again, when we introduce an amazing character like Rowan, who's hot and caring and
6'11" and
who says, "Wait, shut the door,"
in a totally non-sexual
things
way.
will be turned.
You're like, I'm going to take everything he says as a certain kind of way now. Yeah. I mean, they're not together at the end of this book.
Right.
Remember that, right?
Yeah, I know.
All right. I'm just letting...
I have hope.
Just letting that sink in. Yeah. Just want to let you know. So, now it comes our therapy deep dive where we're going to take some of the concepts from the book and put that out into the real world space. And the first thing I wanted to sort of highlight in this book is the topic of rage. There's one particular quote that says, and it's Aelin speaking, and she's talking to Rowan and sort of admitting why she fears herself, why she fears her magic. She says, there is this rage, this despair and hatred and rage that lives and breathes inside of me. There is no sanity to it, no gentleness. It is a monster living under my skin. And I think rage and anger are a big part of Aelin's trajectory. So we see Aelin's fear for herself and the fear of her own rage. And it makes me think about the role of anger or rage in everyday life for us mortals who are not fae. What can you tell us about the things people struggle with when it comes to anger or rage? And how is rage connected to other emotions or experiences?
Well, as a common theme in a lot of the books, we see that like anger and all of that is a tough emotion in reality and in fantasy world that people have difficulty with. And it's obviously or usually connected to other feelings too. So if you've ever been introduced to like an anger iceberg, it shows you the tip of the iceberg, which is anger, the emotion that's usually seen as like a visual let out that you usually give. But then under the iceberg, under the water, a bunch of other feelings could be happening.
Yeah.
That many people don't see, or that you yourself as the person might not even know that you have there, which is helpful to come to therapy and figure that out. So rage, I feel like can be a very intense version of anger and can cause you to make some bad decisions in the heat of that anger. So there have been like some things created in the real world called like rage rooms.
Yes.
That I've heard about, where you go in, you break things, and like it's like a way to release. I feel mixed regarding an activity like that, because I feel like there could be other helpful ways to cope with your anger.
Yes.
Versus like doing that destructive nature.
I like that you bring that up, because to me it almost feels like you're training yourself to react. Like, if you feel rageful and you connect your feelings of rage to smashing things,
that's not.
What's the difference between, like, where's the line? So, because you can't, if you feel rageful, you can't always be in a space where you're smashing things. But if you create this line between the feeling and the behavior of, when I get rageful, I smash things, like, that can become really dangerous if you're not careful.
Yeah. So I think being able to use maybe some other coping skills, sure, you can try out a rage room and see what it's all about, you know. But I think, like you said, you're like training yourself that like that will be like the best way to release, and you're always going to want to have that, and you could be tempted to like break other things that are not in a rage room. So that's when things can become dangerous. So definitely would recommend you to use some other coping skills. It could be helpful to some people, but I think when you are like disrespected or have like an abrupt situation, a lot of like you hear like road rage.
Oh yes, I am. Yarlin's looking at me because I definitely do feel those feelings sometimes. You would never know. They never come out. Not out loud. Yes, they do. They definitely do. But we're working on it.
But in situations like that, where you get upset at a situation that really does not need to require that much energy out of you, it can cause you to have some conflict, a lot of dangerous situations. You know, people get
cortisol's up.
Yeah. So I think being able to help cope with your anger, because we all feel it, trying to do it in a healthy way, punch a pillow, scream into a pillow, use mindfulness, other ways that you can like help relieve your anger.
Yeah.
You can't push it down, you can't ignore it. You could be angry, notice that you're angry.
Yes.
But if you need to take a step away from your situation, or if you're having an angry conversation through text or something, take a break. Take a little break. Respond when you're not upset.
Yep. And there's a whole, in counseling, we do a lot of this work around assertiveness training.
Yeah.
It's, you can communicate that you're angry. You can feel angry and say, I'm really angry right now, and here's the reason. The idea is to be able to communicate through the anger, and as you say, use those coping skills so you're not turning it into something destructive. Yeah. And I think Selena Aylin could go through some of that. Could go through a little assertiveness training. You know what I'm saying? Give her a workbook, mayhaps. Okay, the next one kind of aligns with rage, or I think can be in a similar camp almost, and it's this idea of revenge. And you brought this quote up earlier in our Plots and Thoughts review, but I want to give us the full quote here.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to hide from myself mostly. I convinced myself I should disappear because the second thing I wanted, even then, was to be able to someday hurt people the way I had been hurt. And it turns out I was very, very good at it. And so we see the role that revenge plays in the way that Aylin operates or moves through the world. Why do you think people choose revenge, or people hold grudges? And how does a focus on revenge or grudges impact a person?
I think it doesn't help in your process of life, whether it's in reality or in fantasy. You're only hurting yourself with holding grudges and with those negative emotions. And if the conflict cannot be resolved, working towards like letting go can be more healing than holding on to that, because maybe the other person doesn't even have any of those thoughts in mind, and you're the one that's suffering in that moment. So I think you being able to work at that and like letting go, acceptance, moving on, focusing on yourself could be much more helpful.
Yeah. And I think too the idea of forgiveness, people think of forgiveness as a one-time act that I'm like, I release this and it's gone. And that's not necessarily true. And forgiving doesn't also mean that you have to be in contact with that person or that you have to always feel peaceful or happy toward them. You can decide, I don't want to see this person anymore because of how we interact interpersonally, or I feel uncomfortable around them, so it's not something I want to pursue, and I'm not going to let myself get eaten up on the inside because of this. I'm not going to expend the emotional energy, and so I'm going to release this for my own purposes. It doesn't mean that everything's hunky-dory between me and whoever, but it's and it can be a continual choice as well. Like, you may feel like you've let something go, and then one random day something happens that brings up that memory. It's okay to have to go over that moment again and be like, you know what? I see it. I see the sticky feelings related to it, and I gotta send this on down the river with, whatever else I can't control.
Yeah. I feel similarly with revenge. I mean, there's this like she's in her revenge arc era or something, and it's like, I get it if that's something that will make you maybe feel empowered or something if you had a breakup or something.
Yeah.
But when you are trying to actually get revenge over someone, I think it's important to ask yourself, like, is it worth your energy? Like, what are you going to get out of it?
Yeah.
You're giving them a lot of power over you and your life.
Who is this for?
Who is it for? Is it really for you, or is it for them?
Yeah.
Or,
because if you're formulating all your decisions based off of getting revenge on someone else, you're centering them actually in what it is you're doing. So we have one more here. And this, again, was a quote that you highlighted earlier, which is loving all parts of a person. Dorian says to Kale, she was not becoming anything different from what she always was and always had the capacity to be. You just finally saw everything. And once you saw that other part of her, Dorian said quietly, it had taken him until Sorsha, to understand what that meant. You cannot pick and choose the parts of her to love. He pitied Kale, he realized. His heart hurt for his friend, for all that Kale had surely been realizing in these past few months. Just as you cannot pick which parts of me you accept. And the reason this was highlighted to me is because when we're building genuine friendships or any kind of relationship, you are bound to discover things about the other person that you do not like. And so how do you think people build deep relationships or friendships, or people who build these kind of friendships? How do you think they navigate the strengths and weaknesses or even changes in the personhood of the person they're relating to?
So I think when you're building a relationship, you have to go in understanding that nobody will be perfect, and everyone has their shortcomings, their ways of improvement, and things like that. And if there is something that either was said or done to you by this person that you felt was disrespectful or not okay, you can communicate about it, and that could be helpful with expanding and working at your relationship if that person means something to you.
Sure.
And I think focusing on their strengths is really helpful. And if you're like reevaluating your friendships and stuff, you can think about, what does this individual add to your life?
Yeah. Or where are your boundaries? Like, what are you willing to accept and not? And there is a certain amount of stuff that you will need to be willing to accept within people if you're going to have genuine relationships. That doesn't mean you have to be boundaryless. Like, there are thresholds to what you necessarily will have to engage with when you're getting to know someone that deeply. But you need to have wiggle room. If you will only accept people for certain parts of them, that's not real friendship. That's you picking and choosing. And I think that's what Dorian's calling out. Is like, if you're going to be my friend, if you're going to love me as much as you say you love me, you have to take all of this into account.
Yeah, and people change. People like change themselves, rediscover themselves throughout their adult life and things like that. Their relationships, they can grow apart. Yeah. And that's okay when that happens. Sometimes maybe at another time you guys can come back together, but If that person isn't meant for you in your current moment in life, then you can make more friends. It's okay.
Yeah, and I like that you say that because it acknowledges that we as people change. So if you are someone who had, a certain set of friends or something in your younger life, and then you grow in certain ways and you make new friends, and like these relationships are changeable, they're permeable, they can be strengthened or weakened depending on the commitments we want to make, and it's okay for that to shift over the lifespan.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So those are our therapy deep dives, and now to wrap everything up, Yarlin, what are your thoughts and theories? What do you think is going to happen? I mean, you've already said Rowan's endgame by your estimation, but like, what is take us out into the picture of what you think is going to happen?
So I feel like when I finish the book, at least I'm trying to recall, I remember Rowan and Aelin like making a pact or something to like rule together, right?
So he makes the Karanan bond, and so he does the Karanan bond, which is they can share magic, and then he makes the blood oath to her when they're with Maeve, and so what that means is he's a member of her court, and he will serve her. Yes. There's no talk of any like romantic connection, but he'll serve under her.
Got it.
Part of his court.
Okay. So I already have a feeling that something's gonna happen there.
Oh yeah?
And I don't know, I like them together.
Okay.
So I definitely love Rowan being included as a character and hope to see some type of relationship develop between him and Aelin. I'm very invested in Manon, and she's the wing leader now, and the 13, and I want to see where that goes. They're waiting over there, waiting for something to happen.
Yeah.
So I can assume there's going to be some type of war or something happening because of I hear the wings, and they're preparing for something. So
sure.
I think that's going to happen. Someone mentions, I can't remember who mentioned it, but I wrote down the Queen in the North. Does he mean Aelin? Somebody says, and there's the Queen in the North or something like that. And I can't recall who said it, but I thought that was very interesting.
Okay.
Does he mean Aelin?
So I'm remembering those words being spoken. I don't, because there's a couple, it could mean Aelin because Terrasen is in the north. There's also, everyone keeps referencing the Croaken Queen with the wine hair. And so and that's also in the barren wastes. That's north but west. So if you look, like Terrasen's over on the right-hand side, the barren waste is on the left, and they're both kind of north of.
So maybe Manon and the 13 are going to find going to fight the Cronin Queen.
Croaken
Queen.
Okay.
Something over there.
All right.
I don't know. It could be either or. But I am assuming that the next book or the next few books will be like saving Dorian, being turned into the creature, and saving Adian.
Okay.
That's what I have for now.
So you think they're gonna save Dorian?
Yes.
You think they're gonna save Adian?
Yes.
Over the next like you think within the next book?
I'm hoping so. That's something that can happen in the next book.
Manon's gonna go kill the Croaken Queen. Aelin and Rowan end up together. What happens to Chaol?
But the thing is, I'm trying to recall, because it's like, why did Nehemia and the other girl hear the wings, but they were in Otterlin or whatever?
Yeah.
So will the wings and the wyvern, will they be coming over there? Maybe they are going to be the ones saving Dorian and Adian.
You think Manon's going to save Dorian?
Because I don't, the picture of like, going to the Croaken Queen and all of that hasn't, a lot of that hasn't been mentioned, unless it will in the next book.
Okay.
But I feel like saving Dorian and Adian are like time sensitive.
Okay.
So I feel that people may round up the troops and come on over.
All right. So you heard it here first.
Okay.
Rowan and Aelin are endgame. Dorian's getting saved by Manon. Kale's nowhere. I don't know where you haven't spoken about where he is.
Well, maybe they all join forces.
Kale shows up randomly
with the Ren guy.
With Ren. The Croaking Queen, she's in there.
There's a lot of things going on.
Okay, all right.
There's a lot of things.
You heard it here first. This is the end of the books. We've got the plot nailed down. Everybody's where they should be. So, yeah.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see if I'm right.
Like, I can see you playing with me.
I can't read you. You're too good.
Well, one way or another, we will find out.
Yes, we will.
After our review of Assassin's Blade.
Yeah.
So we're headed for the prequel, and we're going to review Assassin's Blade, and that is going to wrap up our analysis of Heir of Fire.
Awesome.
And we're on to the next books.
Awesome.
Please remember that if any topics today were triggering or upsetting, make sure to seek out your own individualized treatment. I know there was a lot in here today that could be potentially upsetting. And remember that this podcast is for fun. It is based on our own opinions and experiences and should not be used for diagnosing, assessing, or treating mental health conditions. In our next episode, out on, I believe, August 20th, we will be reviewing the Assassin's Blade, the prequel book, and we're doing this because we're doing it in publication order. So apologies if you don't like that. You can always just mix up the episodes when you listen to them.
Yeah.
But we wanted to get the publication order in there. So we'll be reading Assassin's Blade next. And if you would like to support us or interact with us, make sure that you subscribe and rate our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube, that you follow us on Instagram at FayandFablesPod, or you can email us at fayandfablespod@gmail.com. Thank you so much for listening.
Also, our merch is available.
Oh my God, the merch! Yeah, we made merch. Remember that one time when we said we're gonna have merch, and then we just effing did it? Like, we did it. Hell yeah! I ordered mine. I'm getting fired up. I'm waiting for mine. So if you would love to be decked out in favor, if you'd like the unique opportunity to represent Faye and Fables Pod in your day-to-day walkings about, go get our merch. It's on Etsy. You can find the link in our Instagram posts and all that stuff, and
take a picture with it. We'll post it on our Instagram.
Hell yeah.
I think that would be fun.
Yeah, and I think that's it. So we'll see you next time, y'all.
Bye.